Hey, if anybody can change the slide at all, I realize I put an and instead of an at loco. If anybody can fix it.
We're off mute.
McKenna,
She's sitting in,
Is that-
and I assume
okay,
Julia's
so she's
coming.
here.
Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone to our Monday, March 17th, 2025 regular meeting of the MCS Board of Directors. We have the slideshow we already showed there. I have a few pre-submitted public comments that I'll get to right now. The first public comment comes from Rebecca Thistlethwaite. Hello, Board Chair Watson and the rest of the MCS School Board. Thanks for letting me submit these brief public comments in regards to potentially changing the school schedule, an action we are discussing tonight. I realize MCS school day starts early and even earlier for those who board a bus in the Dalles. This is certainly difficult on the sleep schedule of the students and their parents. However, I am not in favor of changing the school hours to start and end later in the day for a couple of reasons. First off, it would make it impossible for our middle schoolers to participate in after-school sports and music at the Dalles Middle School. They start practice at 3 p.m. Secondly, I do not think MCS could continue to offer after-school clubs if school were to get out at 3:35 p.m. That would mean our kiddos would not get home from the bus until 5 p.m. or later. Eliminating all those school clubs would be a bummer for MCS. It's something very unique and wonderful that MCS offers. I also am not a fan of the 4-day week model. For any working parent, that would be a major hardship. We either have to find childcare on Fridays or our kids will sit at home, probably watching TV all day while we work. I would rather my son be in school on Fridays learning. The 4-day week really only works for wealthy families where one parent doesn't have to work. It certainly doesn't work for single parent household like mine. In conclusion, I suggest keeping the same school schedule as before and align it with the same schedule as your sponsoring district B21. That will also allow you to use their bus service and not have to purchase your own bus and pay your own drivers. Thanks for hearing me out, Rebecca. Two additional. Bill Maynard. Unable to make a board meeting tonight, but wanted to submit this comment. I'm writing regarding the proposed changes to MCS school schedule. I greatly appreciate the board evaluating this and for all that you do for the students, families, and school. You all rock. I had numerous questions and concerns regarding the initial 4-day-a-week proposal, and I'm happy to see the updated hybrid proposal. This is our 9th year with kids at MCS. Our first several years fell during intensive strategic planning and numerous meetings and breakout groups to evaluate student, family, and school needs. I hope notes from those meetings, planning sessions, and survey results are available. The early start time was one of the greatest concerns that we repeatedly heard from the Dalles and Mosier families. The concern was that the early start time limited the hours of children's sleep, which has known impacts on their capacity to learn. The other is not greater, if not greater concern was the many families from the Dalles had to get their children to the bus unbelievably early to drive them, which was still an early departure time. A later start has been discussed numerous times since we have been at the school, and it is always my understanding that it was unattainable because we share buses with the Dallas schools and cannot afford to purchase our own bus. I do not know what's changed now to make this a viable consideration, but I believe that adjusting to a later start time would better serve students and families in the Dalles and Mosier if it's financially doable. That said, the remaining questions, concerns I have are as follows. I would ensure that the later start time and end times don't impact daily transportation of high school students in Mosier to the Dallas High School. There's a history of Mosier families seeking waivers for the children to attend school in the river, which directly removes funding from the Dallas High School. I believe there's a responsibility to do as much as we can to keep kids attending school in district, and this would be greatly impacted if busing to the Dallas High School from Mosier is unavailable due to the later start time. There are currently families that are not from the MCS Dalles bus route that have students attending both MCS and the Dalles and do a single drop off at 7 a.m. and return later for the drop off of their MCS students. This issue may be unable to be resolved, but I hope it will at least be examined. At some point, possible solutions may be expand the current MCS bus route or to have a smaller bus van and pick up the students, the Mosier students that are currently outside the bus route. It says that our 3-minute mark there. I will forward this to the board if I didn't already. The rest of the board and to you, Michelle. Our last comment.
I don't object to go, we don't have that many comments
Okay.
to going over. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but
Mhm.
that way we
Okay.
can consider the
No problem.
concerns and just address them. Would MCS still be able to offer the school clubs, after school club with the late bus home? I know that adding 6 days off to a school year may be a struggle for certain families. However, I think that the benefit far outweigh the potential challenges, including the current struggle that many families have with their work schedule to pick up and find after school care with a 2:15 p.m. end time. Again, thank you so much for looking into this change, for being so thoughtful in your consideration, for doing so much late work. Julie and Tiffany, I saw you out working the pickup line with your clipboards to ensure that families provide input into this process. That's Jill Mayer. And we have one. Okay. This is our third comment from Kay Alton. I'm wanting to comment in support of the later start time from a child development perspective, mainly related to how children's bodies and brains function during different stages of growth. Kids getting the 8 to 12 hours of sleep they need is difficult when school starts early, especially for our families in the Dalles. Our middle school students in particular have a natural tendency to fall asleep later and wake up later due to the shift in their circadian rhythm. Early school start times conflict with this natural rhythm, leading to insufficient sleep and negatively impacting their cognitive and emotional development. Sleep is crucial for memory, emotional regulation, and overall brain health. Studies have shown that later start times are associated with higher grades, better test scores, and more consistent academic performance as students are more alert and engaged during class. Sleep deprivation has been linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues, seen as irritability, impulsive behavior, and trouble regulating emotions. When students get more sleep, they tend to have better behavior, both in terms of academic performance and their interactions with peers and teachers. Basically, later school start times align better with students' biological needs, improving their overall well-being, performance, and long-term development. I understand that parents may need to shift their schedules to make this work, but the benefits to our kids definitely seem worthwhile to me. And that is our last public comment. That brings us to item number 3, approval of meeting minutes from 2:18 and 3:3. Everyone saw those? All those in favor? Any opposed, voice your opposition?
She might be up there, but we can't see her because.
Can she unmute?
McKenna, if you feel like opposing anything or abstaining, just let us know verbally.
Will do. Sorry, I was texting Julia.
I was the same.
I approved.
Thank you. Motion passes. I'd like to move item, so this is approval, changes and approval of the agenda. I'd like to move item number 7, MTA report, up to now between the approval of minutes, the changes and approval of the agenda and the treasurer's report. So that, if that works, Lisa.
Okay,
Thank you so much. That would be much appreciated.
1 second. Thank you. Vega seconds that motion. All those in favor? Any opposed, voice your opposition? All right, thank you. Lisa.
Sorry, it's hard to hear from your distance there. Um, Hello, everybody. We have a full report today. Primary students have started an opinion writing unit, which coordinates with our study of rivers. We are also studying earthworms and have a worm habitat in the classroom. It's from Fern and Billy. 2-3, we held our poetry cafe and it was a huge success. The students rose to the occasion, sharing and reciting poetry, and parents seemed quite happy. We have also been following and studying the Iditarod and look forward to Thad McCracken and Isla Cushman visiting our classroom to discuss sled dog racing after the spring break. And that has been truly a joy to watch these kids get so excited to come in the morning and see their mushers and move them along the trail. 4-5 is having a great start to this trimester. We are starting our salmon unit, which is a wonderful transition after doing our Celilo Falls project. We got to watch the salmon grow in the tank outside our classrooms as well before they were released into the Columbia River. We are embarking on an overnight trip to OMSI in April. Students are eager and excited to partake in this exciting field trip. In reading, students are making progress as we push through multiple novel studies. Each homeroom class is finishing a read aloud book as well, Holes and the Witches. I have memories about the witches. And going to celebrate finishing with watching the movie the day before spring break. OBOB has been a highlight for the 4-5 students. We had 5 students compete this past weekend in Gresham. Anne Marie can provide how they did after Saturday. Well, we heard today during our assembly, they did quite well, actually. Losing, I think, by just one point. So that was great. Overall, we are having a great time this school year and are excited to see what the rest of the year has in store for us. Savannah from the middle school reports that they're finishing constitutional comic books and hope to have those displayed. They're starting a westward expansion posters. From student council, they're working on Earth Week preparations and other fun events. And the drama department is putting on Aristocats. And hopefully there will be a guitar club starting up this next time around for clubs. So that's what I have for report.
Questions for Lisa? Thank you, Lisa.
Welcome.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, a little bit better.
Not really.
No?
It's just really uneven, so we're getting our ears blasted when anybody else joins. It's not on in the room.
We're moving them closer to the mic. I will do the side.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Brings us to item number 5, treasurer's report. Adelia.
So just a few reports. I know Michelle's going to be speaking a little bit more on these or repeating some of them. Not repeating or correcting me. SIA grant, Veronica's working on submitting additional 47,000 for reimbursement. We had a meeting today with Michelle and Michelle made sure Veronica had those allocations of what else to claim for this reimbursement. There's currently 14,000 that has already been claimed. We do have a total of 85,000 that can be claimed upon. So that's being worked on. And that's for a 2-year, period, just to,
Starting this year.
Well, no,
No.
it's last, it's 23, 24, and then 24, 25, so
Okay.
that's, it's about 47, 45 with both.
so like early literacy and,
Well, that's just early literacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, SIA is around 200,000.
Yeah.
But we've
Yeah.
already spent that from last year.
yeah, this is all literacy.
And this is the end of it after this year? No,
No,
oh,
no,
no, it's
no.
gone, yeah, and that is, yeah.
Just for the last school year and this school year, we have 85 that we can, fully claim. There's 14 already claimed. There's another 47,000 that's being claimed.
We sold like 20 left.
Yeah. Around.
Oh, yeah.
That is big grant.
Yeah, so the early literacy grant is really meant for like K3 and instruction in reading, and you can use it for like a literacy coach, which is Dan Baker for us. You can use it for staff development, so we're all doing the letters training right now. You can use it for any sort of additional extended year learning, which we're probably gonna use part of that for our kindergarten camp, so. Yeah, great.
Okay, audit, we do have a deadline of extension to June 30th. Of course, we want to make sure we get the audit in before even that time period. Profit and loss was just sent out to Summer and she's working on the compilation of the reports. So I just want to give a summary of the delays, because going back to December, we were hoping to get it before deadline, and then an extension was filed and it was accepted. District D21 does know about our extension and has not stopped any payments, which they could if they want, but they haven't. So that's a plus. Coding requests and categorizing has been in progress. And mostly it's been the receipt. We were so paper wise and just trying to track everything, and Michelle has been working on so many other things, and so it's just very time consuming, and not having a person here on site makes the efforts a little bit more than we would hope, and so that kind of is why it's been taking a minute. There has been a lot of back and forth with the auditors of just requesting new codes, requesting new categories, requesting new things. And then there was a month of delay. That documentation was uploaded, but it was uploaded to the file that the auditors were expecting it to be uploaded. Michelle has created with Veronica planned for that not to happen again. And part of the planning for submitting audits on a timely manner is to start contacting the audit form by September, August, latest September.
Yes, the plan is, well, actually, we'll contact them as soon as we're done and schedule it for August or September to get started earlier.
Okay. And then with the mail, of course, and these are some of Veronica's also just thoughts, and I mean, it's best practice. So Michelle and Daphne are looking at school mail, incoming mail, each morning. That way they both can see all the bills, invoicing, and checks that come in. Dawn is taking charge of more of that facilities, nutrition, invoicing, billing, and Michelle's taking more charge of that whole financial aspect and billing, and direct communication with Veronica. The DOE is meeting with us again. Michelle is sending out a workflow email to Matt and Brent just for that efficiency. There was 49,500 submitted for reimbursement, which 30,195 will be reimbursed if everything goes as we're planning, right? And
So far we were on it, we have an every Monday meeting that Brent had set up with all the other players across the country. And so far, nobody's actually gotten reimbursed, so we're hoping that, but there's definitely a lot more dialogue, so we feel very hopeful.
at least they're accepting being able to submit the claims. So that's always a plus, and there's communication, so. Little but there's
Yeah,
communication.
that's great.
Before I jump into the next item, I forgot to add, for next school year for our 25-26 budget report, which will be coming in, April, next meeting.
No, so in June, you
In
mean that
June.
when they reconcile?
No, when we have this our budget for next school year,
Oh, well, yes, yeah, we'll hopefully present that by April.
April, yeah.
We're well on our way. with that.
Yeah, but you guys will see it. We are financially, in a good place, but we are going to be taking a few $100,000 hit because of the under enrollment that we had.
Because it was, whoever forecasted for for this year, 24-25 forecasted 180. We've been pretty consistent at 165. We were up to 170, we're back down to 168. We'll probably go back. So we're kind of in that 165, 66. So, you know, they'll reconcile that in June. We'll know that in June. They'll reconcile that in June.
Yeah.
But 300 less.
So the hit is for the prior year, not this. So for this, the good thing is that we are expecting only that hit for the next school year, and then we should be back on track because we budgeted for.
For this school year, we budgeted 160, and so next school year when we do it, so in June of 24-5, we'll probably see and really it is like, if you have this much money, they're just gonna take some away from it. You know, it's not like we have to pay anything. It's just that we have less money to deal with. But the next in June of 26, because this year we said that we were gonna be at 160 and we've been more, it should be better next year. Yeah, it's always, it's very weird. No, it's every year.
It's 2 years away though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and there was one last thing. Oh, we're working on hers. Michelle is getting access on that too, and there's just a few things that need to be updated.
Yeah, one of the good things is, both Sarah and Veronica, because they live in the same area, they talk. Anyway, so they just did every 6 months, they're going to, audit hers to make sure that everybody's paying the right, premiums, the insurance, that if, let's say that you were having something taken out for a 401(b), whatever that is, an investment thing. Like I have money taken out that it's taken out of my account, but also they need to make sure that it gets paid to Horace Mann.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't always happen. And so I like their proactive approach. So we just had I think there was about 4 or 5 of us that they just said, hey, you're getting a refund, or like me, you're gonna pay a little bit more, because they're just adjusting the rates and stuff. So I appreciate their proactiveness on that, because that can be a big hit if you don't reconcile it. Yeah.
But things are getting better on track. Okay. Any questions on that before I dive into the next item? All right, so a board member, I sent that email thread along with the email. I'm sorry, I sent that out to me. Reached out on the possibility of an investment account. Example, the S&P 500. The email,
We can't
things
hear
to
you. I can't.
All gone, or just, you can't hear Amelia?
Oh, you're frozen.
Uh-oh.
Oh, she
It
had
was
a,
Anna.
I have a feeling probably. Maybe she couldn't hear because she was. her
Losing
internet.
You're
signal,
frozen,
yeah.
Anna.
I'll wait for a little bit. Yeah.
I can hear you now. I'm sorry if I missed what I missed.
All right, I'll restart. So the board member reached out on the possibility of investment account. The example that was used was the S&P 500. And I sent that email thread to everyone. Just things to consider. Right now, our LGIP account, so our local government investment pool, is at 4.7%. I also sent that report out. And I don't want to get into the very specifics right now, but I think that if we do want to look into it, then we should really get into the specifics and get more information. to be able to invest in a S&P 500 or really any other, market account out there, we would need an endowment fund, that would, you need to set up. What this is, it's pretty much a parent. So this is, this fund is, that can actually invest, because as a school, you cannot invest in the market. Okay, and, the principal can't be spent. So that's another key point to take in. And I would highly advise to get legally, advice before even maybe trying to sit at a committee and seeing, because if this is, something that the board wants to continue to move forward on and get more information, I highly recommend, just as a professional key point, that there's a lot of different, not necessarily heads making all these decisions, but enough heads looking at what's happening with that money and where that, money is being invested in. It can get, it can become a can of worms on sometimes. My advice, I also put that, currently our money is saved. We have not detailedly allocated of where all that money came from, but I do know that it's a lot of state and federal funding. And maybe that's something that, I would highly advise that we don't, try to invest that money. We have what's the schools use, the LGIP account. But it would be great to maybe open it up for our communities to know that if they do want to make a donation that has an intended purpose for an investment account, that might be something that we want to consider. So I'm open to feedback, comments, or if anyone else wants to pitch anything in.
Any questions for me?
I'm just, okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just, curious, is the endowment, I understand it would probably be necessary if we were doing it for, the funds that you were discussing, but for ones that were just donations, if an endowment is really even necessary, if that was one step too many, that was the big question.
It would, because we are acting as a school, even though it is a charter, we're still public, so it would be necessary.
I reached out to Regina Sampson, who is the CFO at Corbett, just to ask her, and she said, she recommended that we reach out to Piper Sandler, because they can tell you what you can and cannot do. She gave me the name of somebody, and I emailed them to see if they can meet the next week or two, just because she said there's definitely do's and don'ts on this, and and what and I don't know, looking for our policies, if we have an investment policy, I don't know, we have one of those.
Yeah.
So we can look at,
Based on
I'll
where money-
find out some more information, so.
Yeah.
It's definitely
I would say,
a-
based on where our money is, we probably don't have any strategy. But if we did want to, look into it, I'm happy to help in that regard. I mean, from the fundraising standpoint, it would make my life a whole lot easier. And, but there's also maybe the aspect of, that separate fund that has about 42,000 in it that was purely from donations for, the playground fund and all those things that we did separate recently. Something to think about. So I understand there's some resistance on doing, all of it, of course, for legal reasons, but maybe there was just something to think about.
Any other questions for Amelia regarding the treasurer's report? We'll get to it. That brings us to the business manager's report number 6.
And so if you go to the shared drive, February is already posted for everyone under the board financials. Budget, I'm just gonna do budget summary. You all can access that. It looks like, the student fee one is a little bit off just because of the preschool. We had budgeted a lot more than what we're bringing in, but the good news for that is we're up to 11 kids now, so that we're gonna readjust that when we do the next budget. We are now.
Can you share screens?
Okay. Sorry. the food services, we're now, money's starting to roll in, so that's you're gonna see some change when we get to March on that one, because I know we got, I think at least $10,000 into that, and we're kind of moving some money back over there, so that should, the goal for our food services is to balance out what we take in and what we get back from the state. I mean, what we spend on food and what we get back from the state, that's the goal. But North Wasco was in charge of, it kind of passed through for them, and now it's coming directly to us, so we will have a better handle on that. That's a big change, but we had to, the reason, we had to, have a separate bank account, which we now have a separate bank account, that everything has to go into. We're, right now, as of February, the end of February, we've spent 63% of our salary, so I think we're doing good there. Because guess what, we're 2/3 of the way through school, so we're right on target. Now, that is not the same for capital outlay. There just is so much to be done in this building that, and hasn't been done, that we're really trying to work on getting that. So we're definitely, Dawn and Mitch and I walked the school last week, made a list of what needs to be done. Dawn's gonna start getting quotes on that. So when we do the budget, we're going to make it a lot more realistic than what it was.
Can I ask a question on that one?
Sure.
So where does like, if it wasn't budgeted under capital outlay, where is it coming from?
You mean, where is the money? Because we actually have more money than, what's not really in here, is the fact that we did get 200,000 from SIA. We also, the other thing that was weird with like the ESSER funds, everybody spent those funds and then we just got reimbursed from those. So I don't think they were really adjusted in the budget very well.
So we had
It's extra
more,
money, yeah.
we had more money
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
That's
But
reflected.
that's gonna start, like, ESSER's is gone, and now they're more targeted with the SIA, early literacy, it's called integrated guidance, they keep changing the name, it's integrated guidance, IG funds. Those will be definitely already spent, because we're gonna probably use people to spend that grant money, because it's just easier, when we have to go and, put in what we spend, it's just easier to do than have a whole list of receipts. We just say, and we spent it on our literacy specialist, or we spent it on our SEL teacher, it just is easier tracking. So, because there's already a lot of paperwork we have to do with that. So,
So even though it looks like it's way over budget on the capital outlay,
we're still doing okay.
all is good.
We are over budget.
We are way over budget.
I can't see it. I knew we were over budget because
Way over budget.
I can't see it.
Can you tell me
Okay.
about the payroll expenses?
Well, those are things like, taxes and PERS and, all of those good things.
And we had budgeted nothing for it?
Well, I don't know, so it doesn't look like that, so.
Okay, that's a
Well,
lot
I
of
have to-
information.
It also changed from, what was the one we had before, QuickBooks to Paylocity for our payroll, and we're all trying, and I think they're still trying to, move stuff over for that, so.
Okay.
But I certainly can ask Veronica about that one.
Yeah, that's just a lot of
Okay.
money, I'm curious.
Probably healthcare benefits, I would imagine.
Yeah, our
Yes.
healthcare, so we spend about
But
$18,000
there's
a
payroll
month on
expenses and
healthcare
costs.
for premiums and such and the HRA. I do also want to say, also the HRA, which I'm not sure what that's up there. Let me ask her a little bit more about that. And what I could do is have Veronica take each one of those and just maybe say, and this is, and just define it. That would-
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good, 'cause yeah, now that I'm
For the
looking at
cost
that,
code,
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is.
like Emily called out here.
18,000 a month, then that's.
Read that, get that right. Okay.
For which one? For the payroll expenses or
Yeah.
payroll?
Yeah, but you
costs?
also have,
And then you have the PERS and then the other, so. it
yeah,
probably
I
adds up.
don't know, that whole red. Let me try. Let's see if I can text her real quick. You might get the answer later on, but.
Oh, I don't need an answer.
Oh, yeah, I don't need it right now, but I would
All
like
right,
to
well,
know.
I will
I'd like
get
to
her-
understand
I will
all
get her on
the
that.
payroll and salary, I mean, I get the salary line, but then payroll costs and then payroll expenses. That's,
And other objects.
That's almost.
I think that your idea of having a couple words or a sentence
Yes.
that describes
What
each.
what is that? What is
line
the option? Yeah.
Yes.
My key. My key. All right,
item. Yeah, that'd be helpful.
and the other one that I like to see is the financial position document.
Oh,
It just tells us that we got the money, right? So what we have currently is, in the bank accounts are almost $3 million, a little shy of $3 million. And we don't really have a lot of liabilities, which is pretty nice. We have some payroll liabilities, and we have the credit, so the P cards they're actually a community card, they're not actually a P card, but they're working out pretty nicely because it makes it easy for Veronica to go in, she can look at the different accounts. When somebody doesn't turn in a receipt, she sends you a little email and said, we're missing your receipts. We have everything uploaded on a Google form, and Mitch was showing me, and I was very proud of him, he has it on his phone. So if he does something, he does that, takes a picture of the receipt and sends it to Veronica. So it's pretty, because I think that was an issue, like at the end of the year, like there were. there were receipts everywhere. And we have to put in a description of it. I just created a form for if we do lose a receipt. Somebody thought they had lost a receipt, but after I created the form, they actually found it. And that is like, if somebody does lose a receipt, we have to document why they, and I've done it before, why you've lost a receipt. And just so you don't fill out that form, that should be a very rare occasion that you ever fill out that form, so. And Veronica is going in and reconciling everything, so that's gonna make our next audit so much easier. Because it's online too. Questions about that? We have only had one applicant for the business manager, and they didn't really have any financial experience, so still looking, still looking. Any other questions?
You want to give our MTA bargaining update?
Sure.
Okay. Item
Um,
number 8.
so I had met with Christine from OEA. She will be kind of the person that helps them with their bargaining, leading that. She also does North Wasco and Hood River and David Douglas. She has a lot of people that she's doing. She was gonna get back to us with a schedule, and I haven't heard from her for that. We did meet with Mary Ellen and Lisa, just quickly, the other day. It was just a conversation, like, when we're gonna get started, and they're ready. They did send us a list of things that they needed from us, and we're gathering those up for them. More than likely, we'll probably meet with Julia and Dan and Lisa and Mary Ellen, and just we've talked about just kind of go through the contract and do the easy stuff first. As always, it's salary, workday, and benefits that are gonna be your thing. And we have heard from, because we have started the new HRA motive thing. The good news, we were in the hole for our reserves, but Veronica told us today that we were $500. We have some savings in the reserves now. The person from MODA, Phaedra, said she did not, and May both said they did not recommend doing any changes because we need one more year to build up reserves. So before we decide, hey, this is gonna work for us, we're small. And so like, if you're in a big district, building up your reserves is easy, but we're pretty small. So we did also have a presentation was that 2 Wednesdays ago? I can't remember. Anyway, where they, May came on and with somebody from MODA just to go over using the individual HRA card, because nobody's using it and they should be using it to help bring down their costs. So the hope is the bargaining is, Veronica is pulling together cost of living with the with the certified salaries. Their ask for us was to also, currently, we're just negotiating with certified, with the licensed teachers. Those are the only people that have a contract. So the rest of them, until they would need to come and present that to us, that they would like to join the union, and they haven't done that yet, so. That's all, yeah, that's them. Any questions? Our hope is to the goal is to wrap this up before June, so.
Yeah.
Oh, and also to go for a 2 to 3 year contract, none of this
Yeah.
year thing, because,
Oh, yeah.
that, Christine had also said she has too many to bargain, that she can't bargain every year, so.
All right, will bring us to item number 9, executive director report. Would you
Okay,
like
I-
to share it?
Take a breath.
I sent it out just because I thought that way if you had any questions, I could go through this a little quicker. We currently have 168 enrolled, not, and that actually, I think it's now 11 pre-K, we just keep being with them. And I also want to say that it's also, people are paying for pre-K, so that's really nice, most everybody's on time with that.
Can I ask you, what do you see as our pre-K max?
Well, our hope was 20. Okay. Will we get there? I don't know. If we have 20, I'm definitely gonna have to hire another. We have right now, currently, it's Becca and then Anna Sonata is in there. We also have, another staff member that goes over and, helps with breaks. Because right now, when they stay 10 and under, one of them can be in there with that. But the minute we go to 11, then they have to have 2 people in there. So they couldn't take break if we did that. So, but oh my gosh, if they're doing that, like they had this little, leprechaun thing that they made today, they all had, it was adorable. She gets them outside all the time. They are chomping at the bit to get in that garden, like they can hardly wait to get in that garden. So, yeah, yeah. The funny thing is the people that are going to it, that have soon to be kindergartners haven't, we hope to meet them because they haven't done the application to attend. But Becca keeps sending it out. And I assume it's because most of them are residents of Mosier, they don't need to. Speaking of the application to attend, we have 23 on there so far, 9 kindergartners. So that's 9 out of district kindergartners in addition to whoever lives in Mosier. And I know that there's probably at least 5 kindergartners. So that's a good number for us. People are very excited. They're, and at this point, I think we're gonna be able to take everybody, but there could be a point that I think the 4-5 is getting a little full. I don't worry about the middle school because we're gonna have some space for that. And then on here, I did give the current and projected numbers if you click on that, just so we can kind of keep, our goal in mind of class sizes. Yes.
On the pre-K front, I remember this was meetings ago, like, sorry, I cannot remember what the group was or where the funding was coming from, but we were looking.
Preschool promise, and that
Yes.
hopefully is gonna come out this spring. And so, Becca is all over that. She's gonna let us know when it's ready to go and she's ready to get started on that.
And that would give like.
So
funding
for the
some-
first, my understanding is, I think it's the first year you get $2,000 for each kid, which would be amazing. And then it goes down to $1,000, which is still more
For
than
all
what-
kids enrolled? or
well,
is
you
it
have to,
need-based?
so what you do is like, if we have 20 slots, we
Okay.
can say 6 of those slots are for, preschool promise. You have a number of slots, and so it's not everybody, but if you have those, slots, and then they try to help fill those slots, they'll say, hey, Mosier's got some, and it is need-based, so it does look at, yes, but my understanding is, if we had 6 slots, and we only had 3 families that, met that criteria, they actually moved the goalposts. And they're like, okay, we'll go up here a little higher,
Gotcha.
which is
Okay.
unusual, but I guess that's what they do. So, I mean, the goal is to get kids into preschool.
Yeah.
And then for us, we're so excited because by the time they move over to kindergarten, because Becca is doing all the things we need her to do, those kids are gonna know letter sounds and, yeah, she's doing a great thing. Ashley Quackenbush is now working, 3 or 4 hours on Fridays, with Ashley, our school health assistant. And there, we sadly do not have what's called, IHPs, which is an individual health plan. So kids that have medications or have like, seizures or, or diabetic, they should all have these. We don't, and the good news is we don't have a lot of kids that have something like this, but we do have some kids. And so they are working on going through all of the student records, updating everything and getting those, completed. We are working with, Columbia Gorge ESD. They had hired on Amanda Hinkle. We're gonna contract with her to finish out, and when I say contract with her, it's, you know, less than $2,000 or $3,000 that is gonna be to go through that. And she's gonna help set up all these plans, using, like Hood River does it. I guess North Wasco used to have the Addis, but Addis is now is canceling that contract. So they also are now scrambling to get nurses. I just want to say Ashley Quackenbush is amazing. She came right in and was like, she's a go-getter, like she's taking classes, doing all the things, so it's very passionate for her. She's also gonna work with our, the other big thing is training our staff. So she can do CPR training, she can do navigation training, she can do the diabetic training, like she can do all the training. In her real life, she is the educated coordinator for Providence Hospital in Hood River, so she's done nursing for a little bit. Jen can talk a little bit about Screen Strong that we're gonna have tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow we have a presenter coming in for Screen Strong to educate both our 4th and 5th graders and our middle schoolers on screens and your brain and what are some of the effects of being on screens. And I saw that she's also going to kind of give students a challenge to try to go screen free for like 7 days. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that.
Spring break.
Yeah, I know.
Great timing.
And then tomorrow night we have our community dinner at 5:15 to 6. And then she's presenting to parents at 6 o'clock to 7:30, and that is a 18 and older presentation. So we have childcare and we also have someone translating in Spanish as well. So I'm hoping that I'm going to see everybody there. Very excited.
Yeah, very cool. Now, on Thursday, April 3rd, we're gonna do our kindergarten kickoff. So anybody that has applied to attend, we've invited them, we've sent it home to families. I think it just went home again today. Just trying to get them all together so we can get them. The kindergartners, so for everybody else, registration should just be online this year. Our kindergartners, it's hard to register them online because we need their birth certificates, their immunization, like they have a lot of paperwork. But once they get through that, so Daphne will be here. We're trying to get as many people registered as possible. That's at 5. At 5:30, we're just gonna do some introductions and talk about what we have here. And then then they're just gonna get to explore the classrooms and such. And we'll have childcare for the information meeting, but the explore time will be all over the place, I'm sure, so. And at 6:30, we're hoping to do also an open house for the families that we have applied to attend so that they can come and take a tour. Giving a tour next week, I think, or not next week, week after. So we have there's a lot of Mosier families that are asking to come and look at it. We had somebody that has a kindergartner that's coming in. We have another family that is coming in from the Dalles that has a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, so a lot of interest, so that's exciting.
Nice. Could we, what would you say, market? Yes. Well, could we market this a little more? Because I know that like a lot of even the private schools are doing the marketing right now because they're doing their open houses too, because it's
Right.
It's pretty much open enrollment all the time right now.
Right, and I think the thing is we need to kind of step back and make sure that that you all decide on what you feel comfortable at for classroom numbers, because if you look at the current and projected numbers, I've kind of put K1s at 20. Yeah, because that's because if you have 20, like, we want them to be super successful. And I think right now we're super successful because they only have 14 kids in their classroom. So they should all be reading at this point, like doing algebra, I don't know. They get a lot of that is special. That's gonna really help us out. And then I think there will be space definitely in middle school. And, but I am a little bit worried for the 2-3, I think they're kind of full. They both have 24, and those rooms are small. And then the 4 and 5 I think they're gonna be, I think I'll have in April, we'll decide that number.
Can we put it back up?
Yeah.
See the numbers again?
Oh, you had them up, you didn't know Sorry.
Oh, I looked before, so that's.
Oh, there you go. Can you zoom?
Which one do you want to see?
The bottom one, probably, there you go.
Have you done any interviews for the middle school position?
I haven't, I've only had one one candidate. I've heard a rumor of another candidate and I may try to reach out to them and then there might be one more. So, sounds awful. Hood River's doing a bunch of cuts and I have there might be one person that, is a first year teacher this year that, I might know. And I might encourage, I haven't said anything to them because I don't know, they don't know the cuts. So just kind of wait. No, in Hood River, yeah, so. Anyway, yeah, so if you look at it, their class sizes will still be really small, but that 12 and 13 number does not include any of the kids from Mosier. So that number is gonna go up. Cause those are just the first grade numbers, that number 12, there could be more coming to that, so. And then, but if you look at the 2-3, you know, if everybody comes to the application to attend, so once we send out in April, once we say, hey, you're accepted, they have 4 days to say, yes, we accept that. And if they don't, they're off the list and then we just pull from whoever's not there, so. And then,
2020 people are very strongly.
yes, but that But I do wanna like just caution you, you can say that and in August, they can say, oh, by the way, sorry, I'm not coming. Yeah, you can't hold them to that, but it would be nice that they would help us with that. So I guess if you look at 4 or 5, they do have a couple spots left, or 4 spots left. Yeah, as my board has, and there's plenty of room in the middle school. Now, if we could keep the middle school classrooms around the 20 to 24 range, that also would really help them out as well, because they love it. Because I can say that we have a lot of, our K1s are solid academically, the 2-3s and the 4-5s, they have some, and even the middle school, like they need some attention, so we want to make sure that we're giving them proper attention.
Well, and my understanding is that often, our school is a draw because it is a smaller school and there is more attention. And so sometimes, and it's, you know, it could be students on the high end of the achieving or in the lower end of the achieving, but parents who are attracted to the school for that small class size and attention.
I know. With the target number, we could be at 208. I don't know how they got 220 in here. I still haven't figured that out.
Middle school had 28 kids.
Yeah, I don't know how they could do that. I would say for, you know, next year, it looks like we'll be in the 170, maybe 180 range. I would imagine that's where we're gonna end up at. The other thing is, I have contacted and had a meeting with Champions. They do a before and after school program. And Anson has gone to it. They actually do some academics with them. They do some, you know, outdoor activities with them. They are waiting for us to figure out the calendar and then they're going to give us a proposal. I think if we stick with 5 days, then obviously we're gonna ask for after school. If we go to the hybrid calendar, we would probably ask for both. I think I'd ask for morning and I would also ask for that and also those Fridays. We would probably more than that and the Fridays, yeah. There is a cost to it, but they're really affordable. I mean, I didn't think it was, that bad.
I just skied with a dad today that his kid was in Champions today, in the afternoon, and
Yeah.
he said he loves it.
So, yeah.
He said that they really like it.
Yeah.
His kids are in Hood River.
Yeah, so Hood River has had it for 2 or 3 years. North Wasco, they're doing a proposal for North Wasco. So the sooner I can get us in on that, the better, you know, we can. And the other thing that I really liked is they try to pull their staff from our staff. So any of the support staff that would like some extra money, they actually can extra money. And then they also then look for locals, like if maybe they're not our staff, but they live in Mosier. Or they live in Hood River, or they live in they try to pull from that, so. Yeah, and they're a very, I mean, it's a nationwide program. OBOB was at, the East Gresham grade school, and when I was there, they had signs all over their fence, you'll participate in that, so yeah. So curriculum, I would just say that we're, going to do some review of it in April. Wednesday, Abby Faulkner is gonna come to the staff meeting to do some meeting the needs of students that require sensory support, which is that, that's hearing or, just the food texture, like all of those different things that we need to figure out. Eco, I'm working on scheduling 2 days, in May, one indoor and one outdoor activity. That would be something about landforms, say on our river systems. That seems to be a common thread for us right now. We're still looking at the NWE map testing, which would replace the iReady testing. Summer learning, we're working on that. We don't have as many teachers signed up to help with that, but Champions also does a summer program. They couldn't get it for June, but they could possibly get us on their schedule for August. So we'll look at that. Yes.
For summer learning, if, would be amazing, well, I mean, this bus transportation, is that needed, like, is that
So we've
required?
already talked to Lisa and they can do, if we do 9 to 2, they can do it. So. And then, I guess I have curriculum review beginning and the end of that, so we must be doing curriculum. Financial, we've kind of already gone through that. We're hoping to have Amelia and Veronica, I kind of looked at, we have, some of the numbers that we have are, we feel pretty good about, and some other ones, with like the contractors, so they kind of adjust that as well. So we're kind of working on that. The audit, it's a little frustrating for me because it sat there for a long time and I kept asking and asking, how's it going, how's it going? And it was told it was going. But then when I contacted the auditors, they hadn't gotten anything. So we got that all taken care of and then it seems to be going. And so right now, they had sent us, here we need some more of this. Summer is working with Veronica because I guess Veronica had the financials. And then, but Summer came in and said, we need to fix this. And so it's good that she's there, have 2 eyes on it. And I believe the profit and loss statement is what they were waiting for. That should go back over tomorrow sometime. We're waiting for Summer so Summer had it, gave it to Veronica. Veronica fixed it, gave it back to Summer. Summer's gonna check it and then they're gonna send it on, so. Yes. And then the financial drive is there for you. And then the SIA grant, we're meeting with Teresa Peters from the Columbia Gorge ESP. We have 195,000, but that's so wrong. It should have a decimal point in there. It's 342.85. There should be a decimal point in there. And the early literacy funds. So those are, if you combine the two, the 87, this is really what we have left over to spend of that. As we do this grant, there's a lot of hoops that we have to jump through. And we did the strategic planning to help us jump through some of these hoops because you don't want to survey, over surveying the people are really, the families is really hard too. So we kind of have used some of the surveys together and just the work that the strategic planning committee was doing. We have to include some of our,
Jump to the screen.
We will include what we're doing and our budget gets included in the North Boston presentation, which is April, and we're working on that with Shannon Brennan. And then we will present it also to you guys on April 14th as well. Staffing, that was one of the things we're going to look at. My apologies, it should have come before March 15th. I thought about, well, we could do a special board meeting, but I looked up and the penalty is you have to hire everybody back. We're already hiring everybody back. Why did we have to do that? So it's only if you have contracts that you're more than likely not going to renew that would be a worry to not do it before that. Everybody hopefully is going to get letters tomorrow. I have the letter ready. It's just the time getting it. It will either be tomorrow or the next day. And then they have to respond to us by April 15th, whether or not they accept or decline our offer to return. Talked about the MBA contract already. The current job postings are there. It's a business manager, middle school, and I also do have a part-time support staff. Just because the preschool, I'm worried about preschool, and I have 4 applicants for that. So some good candidates for that. And the thing is, it's as a temporary job, but it could be like next year, we might need to expand that to full time. And then whatever comes out of this, we've kind of talked as a staff, I think that we will probably for the summer, and Hood River does this with their staff as well, is we probably do work 4/10s so that we can have the Fridays off during the summertime. That would be nice for Mitch to be with his family a little bit. And what I find is Daphne has to spend, we do some overtime just because she can't get everything done in the day, and this way she get it done and then get to go home. It would only be for the last 2 weeks of June. Most of us don't work in July, Mitch does, and so I talked to him what he wants to do on that. And then it would be the first 3 weeks of August. If we do summer school, it would be Monday through Thursday anyway. So that would just give us some extra time before and after. And the office would be closed on Friday, so, which we did last summer, it was fine. Facility, go ahead.
And it might be nice too, because if summer school does, it gives them a little bit more time to clean up with all the kids around. So that's a good idea.
So the garage slash music room, so Wasco County is like, hey, we're good for this, and now it's stuck in Mosier.
Oh, really?
Because nobody's like answering things at Mosier, so Don's keeps working on that, so they're just, they said, if Mosier's okay with it, we're okay with it. I did apply for the TAP grants, I haven't heard back, I'm gonna follow up on that. We sat down and we have some spring break projects that are happening. Mitch is going to be painting the lower level hallways from the lovely yucky brown that it is to a nice pine on white gray. And what I'm really excited about is we have new stair treads for the front, and if they work out well, then we'll do these stair treads. I cannot tell you the amount of kids that slide down those stairs because they are slippery. They're really old, and Mitch said that somebody at one point tried to wax them. And it's ruined, it's just ruined the top of them. The new ones it's gray, they have like these little circles that are supposed to help with the traction of it.
But even adults fall down.
Yeah, I know.
But it's gonna affect the gym too.
So that is on so we have a whole summer project list, and we would love to do the gym, that's on our summer project, so we have to talk more about that. So, and I could share that list with, like, we just made this giant list, and then I think we just need to go and prioritize what it is. But
Well, I would
we're
say,
gonna get, huh?
I
That
would
is
say that is a
priority.
priority, because I was hitting the ball against it today, and I was like, if I'm shipping this, you know, what's underneath?
It's lead paint.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm stopping, but like,
So there is something that Mitch said that they have to do those walls every so often, I don't know.
Because
if
they're
it's-
moist.
Yeah.
Yes, they get moist.
It's not plaster, it's a cement of some sort, so anyway, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there's a lot of moisture, which is why the paint keeps peeling off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yeah, you have a question?
Oh, sorry. You guys are-
anyway, I will, so.
My balls are rolling.
We went through the list one more time, just to kind of look at, just to add lots of stuff to it. What I will do is for the April meeting, our hope is that we have some quotes on that, and that you guys then can decide what you think is a priority. And then, we'll definitely, I hope you understand, like Mitch will probably also tell you what he thinks are priorities, because he's the one working in this building.
I mean, quote's perfect, but do you think maybe we can start maybe like a invite just for all parents to see if there could be like a working
I love it, yeah.
summer day or weekends, and just see how much input and just pretty much say like, we know things happen and life happens, but if we can get some sort of commitment, that way we can plan accordingly, that would be.
I really think like the painting of the gym, we might be able to get everybody to do, but what we're gonna have to do is, we're gonna rent well, it's not scaffold, we're gonna rent a lift. Mitch thinks he can get it through the stage door, and he's gonna build a thing, and he's gonna build a ramp for it, because that's the only way we're gonna get in there. And so if he can do that, we're gonna fix the tiles on the ceiling and paint it, and then, probably fix a little bit of those lights as well, so.
what are we out the door?
Well, we're waiting for that tap grant. I know, you and me have got that.
When Mitch does that, he won't be alone, right?
No, because Mitch is scared to
Yes. No, he doesn't like heights. So Dale will be there.
I wanna make sure that.
It'll be Dan.
And have him doing spring break projects, we're gonna make sure that, so we have the lady that cleans for us on a regular basis. We're gonna ask her, because she won't have to be cleaning up after the children. The bathrooms should stay fairly clean, is have her just really kind of scrub the you know, the linoleum floors pretty well, because Mitch is not gonna have time to do that probably. And then Dale's gonna, shampoo this main carpet for us, so, and so he'll work a couple of days for that. Waiting on the calendar, so I'll just skip on that. Waiting on the calendar for transportation, skip on that one. And then we have spring break coming up next week. We also have spring conferences on April 11th and 18th. There's no school for students. There's a teacher in service on Friday, May 2nd, no school for students. Memorial Day is May 26th, no school for students or staff. Assessment Day is Friday, June 6th, that is no school for students. And then we have portfolio night, which will be Monday, June 9th. And I think right now the time will be 3:30 to 7. I just want to make sure that staff has, like, normally I would bring them in something to eat so they can eat and then be ready to go. And then the kids are the ones that are presenting. It's kind of an open house style. And then you would do the same thing for the middle school. So it would be 6 through 8, although we'd probably adjust their times because at 6 o'clock then we would do the 8th grade promotion. But I need to talk to Melina about what she normally does. They are also planning, I think it's that Thursday, which I didn't put on here, the June 5th will be 8th grade skip day. So they go on a field trip, so, and they're looking at places to go on that. She was asking them where they wanted to go. Last day of school, I do not know when, I know it's early release, but when do you normally release, Ben?
We normally release at, hang on, I think it's noon.
Yeah,
Noon.
okay. And I will-
Yeah.
Is that with the party or?
That's after the party.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's all done.
That's
Because we have to serve lunch, so.
Is your last day of booking plan already?
I don't know.
Not yet.
Like that.
No, not yet. I planned it last year, and I kind of I have that whole schedule and everything, and I kept a lot of the stuff for the games and kind of let it do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to.
You guys like a
Bend
little
the wheel.
routine.
All right, any other questions for Michelle for you, of course? Brings us to item number 10, which is our MCS renewal recommendations for contracts. Michelle, you want me to put that up?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Have that me.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't have.
I was
to.
gonna print it out. We're just pretty much renewing everybody, so.
I will just interject to say this is really remarkable, Michelle, the number of things that you manage.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. It's very modest.
Shelly was on the phone today with me when the radio was going on.
Four-page document. You know, I often feel very humbled by Michelle because I fancy myself as someone with a big job, but I don't have a big job at all. I have a bigger job. It really, the range of things that you have to be on top of, the number of balls in the air at any given moment, from facilities to enrollment, to kindergarten, to preschool, to grants, to the various parents and behaviors, and then community nights, and it's really, really remarkable. And I hope that we have you forever, and we're grateful. I know.
I'm very happy, the middle schoolers, they're always like, you're gonna stay, like, you're gonna stay. No, I can only do that because I have Jen, and I also have a very amazing staff that are like always willing to step in and do things, and so that's really helpful.
Yeah, well, none of them have run fleeing, so you're doing something right.
Well, we're gonna see after we extend a contract extension.
All right, so here's our renewal recommendations. From my understanding, we just need to make a vote to.
It's really just the license one, but you can renew everybody. So by Oregon law, and I think I put a link for the Oregon law on that. So by Oregon law, school districts are required to let their licensed staff know if they're going to offer their contract with them. And if you don't by March 15th, then they get to keep on whether or not you want them or not. So the nice thing is we want everybody. We're very excited to have everybody back. But in the future, we will make sure, and that's why like a lot, if you look at board meetings, a lot of them have changed their board meetings to a week earlier, and it's just because of this particular issue that we have right here. And just also to be clear, we are extending our contract, but if there was ever a time that for some reason, 50% of the kids decided not to come, you can always downsize, right? But this is like, we're going to continue, like, we think that you are capable, valuable, high quality teacher and we want to keep you or SEL teacher or ELD teacher, whatever, so. Anyway, and then we did want to make sure that the classified staff understood that we want them all to come back as well, so.
I'll make a motion that the board approve these renewal recommendations. Thank you for the second, Adelia. All those in favor?
I think I'm allowed to vote on this one, but I'm gonna sit out and recuse myself just because of Nathan.
Good, good. All those in favor? Any opposed or abstain?
And then
Same.
All right.
Jen and I will have a contract in May, that's usually when you want it for our contract. Jen's like, what?
We're different, so.
Sorry.
You done
That's
this
not
one?
even
I
time.
know. Well, I don't know, we got your contract in November.
I know.
That's right.
That's right. You're waiting. Selection.
Oh, which reminds me, I need Dan to sign the contract. I have that.
That brings us to item number 11, discussion of potential action item, change of school schedule, including total days and start times. This is our school calendar.
Did a rushed job of updating the presentation I gave last time, so we can pull, if there is one that's attached to this Zoom, we can pull it up, or you can pull it up and share screen.
Yeah.
You can speak. in the-
Oh, sure.
Have these changed since we?
Yep. Other than I added no school on the MCS days, that was a Dan ad, so. And Dawn too.
Can we go full screen with it so they don't see that?
Should be a mode. Let's see.
I think it's a view.
Or upper right, so slideshow.
Slideshow, yeah, there you go.
All right, there we go. All right, the great debate has been narrowed somewhat since our last meeting between maintaining the current 5-day, 7:30 start, 2:15 end, or going to a bit of a hybrid calendar, which is still remains mostly 5-day weeks, but a later start, slightly longer school day, so an 8:30 to 3:35. And I think you guys have all seen the calendar. I just recycled these because I think that this is an area where people have strong feelings on both sides, and I think I don't need to get into the meat of this, but the real sort of, for me, North Star is that we all have the best intentions for the students. And that's where we're coming from. And the objective is to select a school bus day and calendar schedule that best serves the unique and varied needs of our Mosier community students. And that's really at the forefront of what we're talking about. And there's also an acknowledgement that the well-being of our students is intimately tied to the well-being of the school itself, the staff, and the families. This timeline you saw before, it's just been updated with one more, that should say 2025 March there, that we did another survey. We have surveyed our core
Our
parents
families.
and staff to fatigue, but I will say, I'm happy to say that this is our highest response rate yet. We had 83 responses. Actually, we have 84. There was one more on my clipboard that didn't select either one. So we had 3 families that said, that didn't select either one. And so if the numbers don't quite add up to that 84, yeah, that's why. But this is our timeline. There have been 3 surveys. And I will share the most recent results.
Julia, press okay there, it says recording.
Okay.
Yeah, just in case it blocks.
It's not on your side. You know what? I don't see it on my screen.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, there, yeah. Oh, okay.
It's not on here.
I-
Maybe it's on
Yeah,
that
it
one.
is. Sorry.
So we're back to here.
Yep.
Just a little refresher that currently we have about 39 students on the bus in the morning, and then about 81 on the bus in the afternoon. I did make it out one morning to scare some parents at that early morning bus. It was in the dark and I was sort of saying hi through the window, but I
did manage to meet several parents, and I'll say there's a good number of cars that pull into the Wetumpka parking lot. There's certainly kind of a 6:10 a.m. rush of cars, and students getting on that bus. So it was nice to experience. I've experienced this drop and pick up many, many times, but it was nice to experience what that felt like. And I just anecdotally will say, I was down at Wetumpka greeting families that were getting on that bus, and then I drove back home and I woke up my children, just to give you a sense of the time lag. Like, you know, you're saying goodbye to those kids at 6:10 and waking up Mosier kids, for me at least, at 6:30. So this is from the second survey, but just a reminder of like what brought me to this question was primarily this data point. And this is the one that I feel really strongly about, is that the bus pickup time is too early. And I think I hadn't actually seen Jill Maynard's comment until Dan read it tonight, but she has a history around this that's even longer than mine, as far as there's just been discussion in this school community of motivated, interested in changing things, and like, how do we best serve our students around this fact, I think has driven conversation for a very, very long time, well before my time. This is our first survey, just a refresher. It was pretty even. This was only 44 responses. There was a slight preference at that time for the 7:30 start as opposed to the later, but there was also a slight preference, pretty much equal, for a later end time. And then people said they didn't take the bus, mostly because it was too early. This is the next survey. These are the tallies when we still were asking about a 4-day week. And the hybrid was not yet being presented to families. So we had 22% in favor of keeping the 5-day. 9 who were at a 3, which was the middle of our scale, could go either way. And then 46 in favor of the 4-day, which was 65% of families. Yeah, I would say we took 4-day off the table, but we had really robust support for 4-day, and you'll see that continues in the next survey, where people, even in their comments, were, I think, still verbalizing a real interest in that 4-day. And I would encourage us, although I understand it's off the table now, not to take it off the table longer term, because I think that there's interest in the community, just to be receptive to that. There's also, this is from the last survey, strong support from the staff for the 4-day school week. This is my really poorly done, this is the rapid part, cut and paste of the 2 options that were currently on the table. This is removing the 4-day option. The families were, so this last round of survey, the initial paperwork that went out had a 5-day, a 4-day, and a hybrid option. And then Michelle redid the survey based on some feedback we heard from board members. And also, yeah, there was some discussion about the 4-day being confusing, because that was off the table, and that trying to narrow the discussion for families in their homes around the current options. So what's on the table, because of instructional hours and busing limitations, is really the 5-day and the hybrid. The 5-day, you guys all are aware, but I'm repeating just because this is a public meeting, 7:30 to 2:15, hybrid is 8:30 to 3:35. School days, 167, 160, so slightly fewer school days. Instructional hours, for K3, you see a slight drop in the hybrid. This is because the current schedule with a slightly longer day adds an additional recess, and that recess doesn't count. You know, folks felt really strongly if that was the deciding factor. I think the recess could be eliminated, but I think there's also really strong reasons.
But the teachers might not like that.
There's strong reasons for, well, a point that Michelle made to me that I will just share is that, does K3 need more instructional hours than the middle school or than 4-5? You know, where do you want the weight of the instructional hours? So I will just say, for people who are confused by why the hours go up for some grades, but down for other grades, I'm just trying to explain that difference. The reason is because a 3rd recess was added for K-3 that doesn't currently exist. So even though it's a slightly longer day, they're getting slightly less instructional hours because they have more recess or play time. The 4-5 hours are up, but very modestly. Instructional hours for middle school is also up. I know. Yeah. Okay. So here's the results. Thank you to everybody that helped me get the survey out to families. People both responded online and on paper form. And we had 83 responses, 84, kind of the last one that I haven't been put here, representing 110 kids from our school, because each person indicated how many kids they had in the school. And so you can tally the total number of kids, which I think is a really robust turnout as far as getting families feedback. I want to be careful how I characterize the response. I think we're pretty close here. We have 46 in favor of the hybrid and 35 in favor of keeping it the way it is. I will say majority hybrid, but also very robust. You know, definitely not a mandate, also robust support for the 5-day. So take that as you will, but very good turnout, which I was happy with on a short timeline. These I emailed to the board, but I'm putting them up, are our family comments, and I think they really are worth reading and deserving of some thought. I will do my best. We can decide whether we want to go back and actually want to read them. I'm going to zoom in. You know, you will see parentheses paper form where I input somebody's paper form, and you will see a note saying 4-day would be first choice. If it was one of the original forms that had a 4-day option, where they marked 4-day as the first option. And if they did that, then I took the second option. And I will say one of the things that was very interesting is of the families that selected 4-day as a first choice wasn't necessarily the fact that they always selected hybrid as their second. So it was pretty 50-50 after that. It was like, if we're not going to get 4-day,
Could you say that one more time?
yeah, I can say it one more time. So not every family that picked 4-day as their first choice picked hybrid as their second choice. So some of the families said, if we're not going to go 4-day, and you'll see this in the comments, then the current schedule works for me, even though 4-day was my first choice. So you had both, it went both ways for people who picked the 4-day. How do folks feel about reading these comments or just going past them?
I read.
Great. Okay. That makes my life easier. Here's my attempt at the summary, but please feel free to, tell me if you see it differently. The largest consensus is around the AM bus being too early. We had roughly 50-50 based on our first surveys that were around school times for the 7:30 and the later start time, and roughly 50-50 for the 2:10 and the later end time. That it was pretty close. That there's a strong interest in the hybrid from parents. Majority of families prefer the hybrid shift in schedule. There also is a strong interest in maintaining the current schedule from parents. And that there's very strong interest in hybrid for teachers and staff. And I don't have a chart of the teachers' response to the hybrid. I don't know if Michelle wants to say anything on that.
Well, because we'd already done it on the 4-day, and so they were, I would say that the majority definitely wanted a 4-day. And then when we switched to the hybrid, some of the people who didn't want the 4-day, and it was just a handful, are like, oh, well, they like the hybrid seemed to be more of a, if we can't have the 4-day, we'll take the hybrid, which is a little bit different than the parents. So, yeah, there's a couple people that didn't want it at first, and then once they started like looking at the schedule, then they liked it. So, I would say it's a definite majority, like a big majority.
The only thing I would say, I talked to a couple teachers, and the only, just once it was hybrid, and they voiced that they thought it could be a little, like, it's not consistent, right? Like all the time, like the inconsistency of it, but I don't think that.
I think that Phil addressed that.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's better, it's better, and I think that was a.
And I don't think it swayed them. They
So
still
what-
liked it, they were just.
One staff member said, what if we did go another week longer? Then maybe we could have, like February would have the two things, yeah. So, and so that's a choice between, I just to be clear, like, once you, whatever we choose, we also know that there's also changes that still happen on the calendar. So, and we could, it's just kind of making the decision which way you want to go with it. And then we can refine the calendar or things like that. So, but I think for the most part, it's every second and fourth. But November doesn't work for that. February doesn't work for that. January kind of does. I just, yeah. So, yeah, it's just, I'm pretending that the first and second don't exist. Right. So, and then obviously the school, but somebody just said, well, why don't we go one more week and then we could balance that out a little bit. So it is always the second and fourth, but Veterans Day does not help us with that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense to come on a Friday or go like have Friday off and then come back on a Monday and then have Tuesday off, so.
So another data point that's helpful for folks to have is one of the considerations with a possible shift in calendar. So Lisa has been very gracious and patient with us. And we'll be delighted when we come to some kind of conclusion here. But another just, for folks, I think we are very fortunate to have someone as flexible and open to problem solving and also just as on top of it as Lisa is. She's really unique and uniquely positioned to work with us. And I think that this ask has happened before where Mosier School has gone and investigated having a class and monkeying around with the schedule and not had success in getting much. And that included Bill's comment in the public comment that we received about, I don't understand why this is even on the table now. It's really only because Lisa and our sponsoring district is willing to work with. Multiple times and multiple different. These are the numbers.
That owl. Sorry, I unplugged on accident.
Specific to this schedule, you'll see that there's a cost to the morning transportation and a cost to the afternoon transportation, and that the total annual, what it comes out to.
And she wanted to make sure, like, this is estimate, you know, it's on actual miles, and it would be billed monthly. So it's not like we just pay $32,000, it's billed monthly for that. But there's also the cost of, you know, a bus, if we, you know, the shorter bus, which could be somewhere between, I think that the one for the 28 passengers she told us was 85,000 because it's used. She's supposed to know by the end of the week on whether or not that's a viable option, but we're like, well, if there's one 28 passenger bus out there, there might be another one out there, so.
Do folks have a question on how the bus schedule would run? Because that's been I have received questions from the public about, and I think this came up in the public comments too. There was concern, if you look on those parent comments, our high schoolers won't have a bus anymore. We are not taking away any of the current bus routes. The high school, the district has a responsibility to pick up high schoolers in Mosier and drop them off, and that will continue. We would essentially be adding a bus route. That bus that comes in the morning at 7 a.m. and picks up high schoolers would go to the Dalles, drop them off, and then pick up kids at Wichita, take 84 and come back. So those high schoolers still have a ride. And coming back is the same. Just so there was some concern in the comments that we were somehow removing the high school bus, which this would not impact the high school transportation. This is from the last presentation, this was a summary from one of the academic studies I pulled of like considerations I think that people look at when they're weighing the 4-day and 5-day school. And I think here with any change in schedule. These are some considerations for us to be keeping in mind. Academic achievement, cost, teacher retention and recruitment, attendance, school climate, behavior and emotional well-being, sleep, fatigue, and food insecurity. We're on that list. Here are some challenges and benefits potentially of the hybrid, and I welcome additions to either of these lists. These are the ones I've culled from the parents' responses. So, and I'll try, I learned a lot too, just from talking to parents in cars. So I spoke to a parent for whom the early AM drop here at Mosier at 7:30 is really critical to get to work by 8. So, as a challenge, that was a concern. We've heard from public comments and some of the other comments, access to middle school sports. Now, Michelle and I have
No, go ahead, finish and then I'll.
done our best to survey current middle schoolers, and it seems that there's one middle school student that's participating. Now, that's not to say you wouldn't have a year where you've had a lot more kids interested. And I think we've been brainstorming, and I welcome others brainstorming on how you would address that, but that is.
When we usually, so this is my 7th year
Yeah.
here, historically, we have very few middle schoolers that do the sports.
Right.
But then I remember you said if it's enrichment in the afternoon.
Yeah, so we talked about if we had the middle school set up, so we had enrichment in the afternoon, which would be probably like 2:40, 2:45. The Link has a bus right across the street that would take them into the Dalles. Also, they could still, my guess is because the bus is still dropping off kids at the 2:15 time, that they could probably get on that bus and go all the way back to the Dalles too. So I don't think that that's something, and we also have that small bus, maybe
Yeah, we could
we
do one
run
trip there.
we run them in and run back.
So there are
there's
options
yeah,
for that,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Another concern was the much beloved Mosier
Yes.
Community School clubs, and how do we work in clubs and keep drama and things that are very loved.
The one thing, Michelle, I think if we were to do this, because it is a longer school day,
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
We would be able to do more enrichment then.
Well, I also think that at 3:35, you still could do,
different.
you still could do a club. It just might mean that we don't provide transportation to pick them up. So clubs would go till like 4:30 and we just might not do transportation.
But that might be more doable than for a parent to be able to.
Yeah,
pick
to
their
pick up,
child
yeah,
up
yeah.
for
So we could
3:30.
still do them.
Yeah, like soccer could still go till 5. or
But just to be clear, it's only 10 more minutes.
20 minutes.
10 more minutes of instructional.
It's just that it
time, that's what we talked
shifted.
about.
It went,
Right.
instead of getting here, like the bus gets here at 7, we start at 7:30. We're not gonna start till 8:30. So maybe you could do a club in the morning. I don't know. So, but I think that at least at 3:35, I think that there is still plenty of time to do a club in the afternoon, and, or maybe it's on Friday, I don't know. But if also if Champions is helping us, maybe they have some, then that's a good alternative for some of the kids too.
So clubs won't go away then.
Yeah.
Well, if we owned the small bus, couldn't we take
Mhm.
kids home then on the?
Yeah,
at
we just have
4:30
to,
Or whatever.
yeah, we
time?
just have to understand that, well, we'd have to have another bus driver because the bus driver can't be doing that early in the morning. Although that particular bus driver's daughter often participates in clubs.
Maybe.
Yeah, I wanna be careful about making long-term school decisions based off of individuals that we know right now. Right, because
Yes.
we don't, that's not certain for us. We're making potentially
beware.
significant
Yeah,
changes.
yeah.
So I want to articulate my understanding of some of the challenges and concerns, and I appreciate the conversation around it, but I'll try to just summarize these here. So the clubs, busing the high school students, which I addressed, but that was a concern that was raised. Other after-school activities that might start early, so not like if you've got your kid in ballet at 3 o'clock. Having additional Fridays and needing childcare. The instructional time drop for K through 3, which I mentioned, and then cost, here are the transportation and the bus. And so that's the challenges column, and then the potential benefits. Just like there are challenges on schedule, there are benefits potentially on schedule, I would say. And so for some families, there were notes about that this better aligns with working family schedules, either the I think that probably is more the later end time than the later start, but probably maybe both. The Dalles bus departing at a later time. This is a longstanding ask of families. Bus use travel to and from the Dalles, I think, is a potential benefit of increasing the amount of kids that use the bus as opposed to families having to drive and back and forth, both the time those parents spend in the car and also gas money. Having more rested students coming in a little bit later, especially I think important for the middle school students, the shift in schedule. Attendance being improved because of the later start. Just anecdotally, was talking to somebody who was talking about a student that has a very low attendance rate, like incredibly low, who lives in the Dalles, and concerned that that student is just not making, student lives like with a family member, not making the 6:15 bus, and that maybe that's what's impacting attendance. Behavior, no guarantees here, but there is, there's some hope that if you have more rested students, you would see an improvement in behaviors. Instructional time goes up, just like it went down for K3, it actually goes up for 4, 5 and middle school. And then some benefit here on the staff happiness and retention. That's sort of the mix that I'm seeing, but let me know if there are other concerns or benefits that you think I haven't represented. No.
Sorry, my kids.
No,
I thought you had something.
I'm supposed to be Jen. I'm the kids. The principal's having me off.
Michelle, is this, us using their small bus, like us to,
Now, this would be us getting a bus.
and we will have to, that's like the cost of the bus or what? we
So
still have to pay
just,
to-
so understand, so when we would purchase a bus, but it's gonna be owned, they'll know it's our bus, but it's gonna be owned by North Wasco because they're gonna be doing all the maintenance on it, it's gonna live there. And so, whoever would be driving a bus would be an employee of North Wasco. And so they still would charge us. I guess the other flip side to that is if that was a current employee of ours, it would actually drop their time down for us here because they're picking up time from North Wasco. And then we're still paying for their time. So does that make sense? Yeah, so, the bus driver has to, because they're in a union, there's all sorts of different rules, they would have to be hired. So like if that bus, I think we kind of, wasn't it like a 0.2 or 0.3 FTE? I think it would be that they'd have to be for North Wasco. And then we would make sure that the other, let's say, I'm just gonna use 0.3, and then they would be 0.7 here, so that they would be a full person.
Okay, I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around that. We would own this bus and spend that money, and then we're still are paying so much.
Well, it's only two, yeah, it's,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
A
and
month
just
for
so you
it.
know,
Like,
so just so you know that it's, monthly, if you do that, is it like, we have 10 months, it's about $3,000 a month, right? That we'll be paying, because it's.
Oh, this is for, I thought this was,
No, that's for the year.
oh,
for the
you,
year.
I was like, I'm like, you're telling me we're gonna pay 300,000.
No,
Thank you.
so if you look
Because
at
up here it says monthly, and then they're highlighted as yellow.
I know,
monthly,
but
so
it,
it's like-
but it's, so if you look at it, it's 28 miles times 160 days.
Okay.
That. So it could
Okay.
go
Okay.
less if we have a week off of school because of snow, it could go
Right.
more if we
Right.
added some days.
Okay.
To it, which we can always do, but,
That makes
so
me
it's,
feel better.
yeah, it's for the year.
It's for each trip.
Yeah.
So for each trip, it's $20 to have that bus, and that basically covers the driver and the fuel. So even though we own and the maintenance on the bus, so it's $20 to run a bus.
Okay.
And
Or
like,
$40
just to
for that.
clarify, it's actually more than $20, but
We're
the
getting-
federal government reimburses for 70%, so. So that's why, it like,
Gotcha, okay.
like
that's-
when schools cut transportation, it never makes any sense to me, because that is so reimbursable, so.
Question on that one, where does that federal government money come from?
Oh, but, well, I think it's a transportation thing, so.
Is it like a
I
government
can imagine
transportation?
that would be a tough one for them to cut, but You're right, yeah, so.
But
That
every
means
Republican senator would have to go back and say, we don't have busing in Kansas anymore. We don't have, I mean, there are certain things that impact, like energy grants for renewable energy are gonna, like the evenness. I think
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
it
say, like, I
impacts
would think
everyone.
it impacts everyone in a very even way, school busing and, and I'm not the last to have full faith in the federal government's all the processes continuing at the moment, but I do think that school busing, more than school special ed, or maybe even food assistance is probably
More.
I think if you look at the scheme of things, like transportation, special ed, I think they'll have to fund, because that's a law, that's a federal law. Title I, that they might not fund that, that's like, low-income readers, basically. And then the other thing that they do is the school lunch program. So now, do I think the school lunch program, if they drop that, do I think Oregon would pick that up? Probably. So they've already.
Yeah,
had
I just asked
Yeah.
because I don't think that we should put any of our eggs in the federal government basket. Just because it's so uncertain
it is very
and
uncertain.
everything we're seeing is unprecedented at this point now. So
it's hard not to put.
it is hard, like, right, that's why we made the decision about the DOE grant and continuing. So we do have to make those hard decisions. I just want us to make sure that we're looking at like comprehensive what ifs.
Yeah.
If we're making these decisions.
And
What happened with breakfast in the morning for kids?
So currently we have a new thing that we're working on called Grab and Go, and so they go in there and it's got, it's got the milk and the cereal bar or thing, and then fruit, they grab it, they put it in the sack, they can actually go to their classrooms and eat it, as long as they're eating their classroom, it's instruction time, so they can do that. We can also, we talked about pretty much for all of them, is that first morning break is actually we can also supplement that and have another breakfast for them too, or some sort of snack. It probably would eliminate, some of it will be more packaged, which is not exciting for me, but we also talked about, could you make a breakfast sandwich and stick it in one of those bags? Probably, yeah, but we just have to be a little bit more creative about that.
Could still do the muffin.
Yeah.
School start was to be 8:30, would drop off be at 8:30?
No, well, my hope is, I think the bus can get here, and I put 8:20 on there, I thought that could, so the bus would get here at 8:20. So the good news about that is that we would say parent drop up to begin at like 8:15, 8:20, so that they're, like, currently, we have a half an hour of kids running wildly around here, so that would be kind of helpful. Also because we want to be able to do any of our meetings with teachers from that 7 or 7:15 or 7:30 start time there. So I think that, I think that, and I honestly, like, sometimes I see that bus, the afternoon bus is here by, like, he was here at 3:45 the other day. So I don't think there's a whole lot of waiting for that. I do have a concern about, will it shift from more people putting their kid on the bus in the morning and less bus in the afternoon? I don't know. And maybe that, whatever you decide, I think that's also something for us to, I know the surveys are horrible, but it would also be, hey, what is your plan for next year? So we can.
Can you on the registration?
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Lisa. I'm gonna talk to Lisa about that. So.
That would be, I think, definitely forecasted ridership would be important, because I remember since March 24, that Route 16 AM bus, the average is about 39, and I asked the driver of the route, how many kids are on the bus in the morning? How many are taking it home? And he said 45 in the morning. So
That's pretty high. I don't think it's happening.
But what
No, and I also want to say, like, I don't think it's that high. And only because, I'm there when they all come in to get breakfast. I do also want to say, we only have around 30 to 35 kids that get breakfast. So I think like the grab and go is not a bad choice to do for them. And we might get more kids grabbing breakfast, so.
And you had that in your presentation, how many kids are at the bus in the morning.
Well, that's what Marie's saying, is that might be updated, but I will say on the morning that I was in the Dalles, I don't know, I followed the bus up the hill, but we have the numbers specifically of the kids in
It's
the
like
hills.
20, there's 20 kids that could possibly get picked up in the hills.
Right,
And I'm gonna say, like, I don't think all 20 of those kids get on that bus, because kids can always say that, you know, they just have to be routed. You know, and Lisa has to route everybody, but that doesn't mean they actually ride the bus, and then maybe they ride it in on Mondays and Wednesdays, and not Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Names and totals
Yes.
for every single day, so we can absolutely get
that.
Like the day we looked at, it was 14 kids from the hills, and she could give us exactly what kids, but she also has the list of everyone that is eligible to ride that bus, so the potential. And you can compare those numbers. I don't see, so we would have a small bus and a big bus, both in the morning and in the afternoon. So I think that we could absorb a lot more kids. If a lot more kids want to go and like use the bus, we would have space for that.
I wouldn't be surprised if more people were at Watonka at a later time, and that's the big
Your
plus.
slides, Rebecca.
Yeah,
The one where we can see like the two options side by side.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, maybe it was that one. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I just have, I'm confused, sorry, cost. See the large bus, we have the monthly, from Watonka to MCS and then back to the Dallas. 11,468.
No, I'm sorry. So, this was below here. The total price, that 31,580, that is the total price, and that would be billed monthly.
30,000
Annual.
Yeah.
No,
No,
32,000
monthly.
annual.
That's the
Broken out.
total.
It will be broken out, yes.
Divided by
yes,
9 or
yes.
however
It's
many
not,
months in
it's
it.
not 31,000 every month.
I know, that's
It's
what I thought.
31,000.
I was like a school
divided-
year.
So wait,
Divided by
so then these routes are per year?
Yes, they're per year. Yeah.
They're per 160 days.
Yeah, so,
So
yeah.
every day, so if you had a snow day, you wouldn't pay for a bus that day. Like
Yeah.
it's an actual bill of how many miles. So if we went 160 days exactly as the calendar, as the hybrid calendar has, this is what we would owe. But the amount for any given month, you might have a few more days or a few less days of that 160. Field trips. So spring break week is in March, so March is gonna be a low bill for bus.
And then for our small bus, if we get that, this is the same for all of it, if we use it
Because
for
you
a
still
field
have
trip.
it, you're still having to pay.
No, I know,
Oh.
I'm over that,
Okay.
just that if we use it for a field trip,
still
we'll
gonna get
pay
charged.
this too, is that the rate that it'll be, okay.
And the small bus was $85,000.
So they had a used bus, if somebody has, she won't say who it is, but somebody has, that they are thinking about selling or upgrading. And it's somebody that, it's a school district that Lisa knows, and she said that they are making a decision by the end of this week.
And it's a 28.
And it's 28, which was not even on the table when we talked to her, and it was a 14 and a 20, and we are like, oh, the 20 would be kind of lovely too, but the 28 would allow for a field trip, so, yeah.
So, oh,
I was just gonna say, how many kids can go on the big bus? What's the capacity of the big?
So
bus?
they have different ones, and they did buy, so everybody keeps saying, oh, but, Mosier bought a bus. Well, we never bought a bus,
Yeah.
but she did buy a bus with Mosier in mind. And I
It
thought
was
she said
big.
like 80
Yes,
kids.
it
fit
was
on
80, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
80
yeah.
kids could fit on.
We used that last year as, the afternoon, was it last year or the year before? It was the only afternoon bus that we
Okay.
had, and it was packed and crowded, so
Yeah.
then last year they had the.
They split it.
Cause I'm just thinking ahead, if like all these kids wanna now use the morning, like, is it big enough to, it's a bunch more.
And I think that what might happen, like, so if we had to add another bus at Watonka, you're adding, you're this 11,000, right?
So it'd be like
We're talking-
42,
Yeah, you'd have to add that. You might have to add that.
Yeah, that's what I'm just like, foreseeing, like.
okay, so
go
the
ahead.
cost, well, I'm just like, one of the things. I'm really just like, the uncertainty and like the risk of this whole idea, this whole shift is like weighing kind of heavy on me right now. And the cost of transport is one, even if like the federal government keeps giving us 70%, then we're adding potentially more money, or we are definitely adding more money on an annual basis to our budget, which maybe that's okay, maybe we can absorb it, and that's fine, but uncertainty is like a big umbrella for me right now. And the other thing that is just like weighing on the back of my mind is like, I really, really appreciate how much work went into getting input from 110 students' parents. I think that that's probably the best survey results we've had so far since I've been on the board. And when I look at those numbers and it's like, what was it, 46?
It's not
versus
a,
30.
it's not a mandate.
It's like, it looks good in some ways. But at the same time, like, this is the type of decision that for me feels like it should be a consensus decision. For the school, for the whole community, like, we're making a change, we're potentially making a change that impacts every single family at our school. And just because it works well for over half of them doesn't mean that it works for the folks that it doesn't work for. And what if, like, it doesn't work for those families to the point where we lose a significant portion of those families because they start work at 7 a.m.
That could go both ways. I think we might
It could go both ways, but I'm not talking about gaining more families. I'm talking about supporting the families that are here right now. And that's like really, that's what's important to me. It'd be great to gain some more families, but like, if we can't support the ones who we have right here in our community, then. And the only other thing that like I want to say on top of that is,
Sorry.
it's okay, it'll probably come to you if it's important. So.
Marie, your name next.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is been weighing on me, and I know, maybe it's been come across as being emotional. However, yeah, I see this as a public policy decision. And, with any public policy decision, of course, surveys are very useful. And I know we put a lot of effort into it. And it's nice to see that there's been more engagement with this, clearly going to the bus and standing outside
over and above.
is the way to catch more folks, and I do appreciate it. What I worry about is the fact that survey results sometimes don't inform us on what the right policy is, and the right policy is it's a very challenging thing to get the right policy, because how do you address all the needs of the many folks that we have in this, you know, the different lives that people live. And we do, you know, there's 58 kids who weren't represented in the survey. I do think this is a very strong indication that there's, you know, interest in a later start time. And I think that that is, I mean, you see it discussed in many school districts. And I kind of did some poking around to say, oh, okay, like, do other school districts have this problem too with the busing and getting, you know, having to get kids on the bus so early? And I found that in Hood River School District, you've got kids getting on the bus as early as 6:22, going to Parkdale. Mid Valley's got early pickup times. Kids who go to West Side and May Street that are coming from the Valley also get picked up early. And so the person that I am thinks, well, this is a systemic problem. And if it's a systemic problem, why don't we reach out to our neighbors and go advocate? I don't think that the 5-day week is perfect. You know, it would be nice to allow children to board the bus at a later time. And maybe start at 7:55, like the elementary kids are starting school in the Dalles. They start at 7:55, they finish at 2:30. I fear getting out of alignment with our sponsoring district because of the overlap of families with, you know, kids who may be going, children who are in elementary school here, and then maybe older children that are in the Dallas High School, and how all that scheduling and logistics can impact families. And one thing I have found, because I did try to interface with as many parents as I could. And what I found is very much, you know, pretty much reflected in the data. You have some folks that want the 4-day week. You have, you know, families that want 5-day or the hybrid. You get it all. The one thing that I found consensus on was how happy people are currently with Michelle, with the staff, with the school. And in these uncertain times, I fear making a big policy change. And I would be very much, supportive of, later start time and, maybe shifting schedules to, be more creative, maybe not as far, I don't know. But I worry about doing that, before strategic planning is finished. I worry about doing that as we are in very uncertain times. And I would advocate that if, we do want to make changes of this magnitude, that we link up with our neighbors and that we try to address the systemic problem and help other districts. And that's how a lot of advocacy, effective change can be successful, is if folks band together. And right now there's a lot of important work being done to better fund schools by addressing how funding for schools should be addressed. And that's as a result of everyone coming together who's in the world of education and taking the problem. And so I won't keep going on, but I do worry in these uncertain times to change things when folks have been happy. It's not perfect. I don't think it's perfect. And I think there's room for improvement. I just personally, I wish I didn't have to make this call. Because I think it's a hard one, with not knowing how things will be in a year's time. I worry about making a big leap.
Julia, were you, I think you have next.
That's all right.
Okay. I just feel like we aren't making a decision. We've got data from every survey, and everything is leaning towards a clear direction. If we're looking at what people are actually saying, and we're just listening to what the current parents want and what they are asking for. And I think if anything, it's not in our hands, it's only been requested.
We do have a responsibility as a board.
Well, of course, but I mean, we're financially to listen to.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I certainly, try to express that, the survey definitely shows that there's interest. We as a board, we have, a governance responsibility to make sure that the big policy decision that we're making is not going to impact school negatively. That,
I just
that's what's weighing.
Yeah. Well, the inaction for, the people on the school bus, and I agree, I'd love to find that happy medium for the start time as well. And certainly that's an avenue to go forward with in the future. I agree. It's just a matter of right now we have a problem to solve with, and we can solve partially. You're safe.
Familiar.
Well, I will start off by saying I appreciate all the work. Thank you, Julia, for hearing us out, and I saw you and I saw all of the, I personally think it was an amazing initial start of getting that information, yet we still have 50-something more families to hear from. I echo what Emily and Marie saying. I personally was having a really hard time because my personal, if I were to be choosing personally, it was completely different of what I've been trying to advocate. Because I think what I've been trying to advocate, is I take it as my responsibility of being in this board, and that outweighs my personal needs or wants. And that's what I've been trying to advocate. I had to take a break. It was affecting me and personally in other places, in other ways I wasn't expecting it to happen. It really waited on me. And that's why I stopped communication and I stopped talking. I needed that time to wrap my mind. I have come to terms that we are working, but I feel that there's still a lot of work to be done because it is a huge leap. That's at least where I'm still laying, but I think all of this data is going to continue to help us to continue, and maybe down the line, this is just my belief, we don't even look at a hybrid. Maybe we do have with the champions.
Oh, Shannon, okay.
With that being brought to the table, maybe if we give it just a little more time, we can definitely move into a 4-day, because now we actually have a plan, and we actually have guaranteed things for the families that we should be all thinking of that we currently have, and for the community that will continue to bring more children in. That's just my that's where I stand.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to remember that we are a Title I school and we serve 39% of children who are experiencing.
We're actually not a Title I. We
Aren't
get
you?
Title I funds, but we're not
Okay.
a Title I school.
Okay.
Well, and I will want to add, I tried to start talking to families who I know are most likely not able to reach. And I think that's where it hit me, and it took a full troll around me. Because even though I was hearing what they were saying, they didn't want to fill out surveys. Because they felt that they are so happy in Mosier, that it's an honor to be here, yet they don't feel they have a voice. And I think those are things that we as a board should start looking into, because it just broke me to hear that they were like, oh no, I don't want to say anything because I'm already so honored to be there. I don't want it to, I don't want anything to, and then others, 3 of the families I did talk to, thought that, they felt it was more of a selective if we were to make a big leap, that we were selecting to have different background families than maybe what we can reach with our currents.
Could you say that one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, so 3 of the families did voice to me that, that they felt that maybe, making like a 4-day or even a hybrid was more of a selection of a different demographic, medium to wealth, class versus, meeting families. So they didn't feel the right to voice because they felt that they were as a leading family and they didn't want to be signaled out because we consider that Mosier has more of demographics that are middle to higher class.
Okay, thank you. I'll say we had really robust, we had some people to come back that were just in Spanish.
I'm not talking only in Spanish. I just talk to different
Okay.
individuals.
And that my Spanish is not perfect, but I also did my best to answer some questions in Spanish as well for folks that have questions. So as far as reaching our Latino students, we had robust response rates and we had comments in English and Spanish.
I hate to say it, but I think it's that pressure, because of the families I did talk to, who did not want me to voice their name. They didn't want to fill out the surveys. They did say that if they were approached to the survey, I think they just had a little bit more of, I think because of my background and my ethnicity, it's sometimes a little more, I have the ability for them to open up differently.
I will say also, if we just going down the car line, there, you know, as far as reaching every single family, there were some families, and maybe it's because they didn't have an opinion, because I got 3 surveys back that said either works for us, that said, I don't want to fill out the survey. And, you know, and I didn't pressure them to tell me why, but you are never gonna get every single family. You just aren't. Like, there were families who just, there was one parent who was just quite rude to me, who just said, you know, why don't you survey the kids? Why are you asking parents? You know, and it was just like, I was like, well, would your child like to fill out a survey? I don't know. You know, but there were people who really, don't want to do surveys, and that's just not their thing. And you know, for whatever their personal reasons. So I do think, you're not gonna get every single family. And I will say, there are a lot of board members who didn't fill out the survey. So as far as the number of, and I think that's just the like respect for the, you know, wanting that to be the process. But if you want to do the numbers, like, if you're gonna hold out for every single family, we're not gonna get there.
Well, I think the survey data is like one, I think it's really important information for us, but it's also one of our pieces that we need to look at. We need to look at the cost, we need to look at what the community is thinking and feeling. We need to think also about the risk that we're taking for potentially losing new families. And I think also just one of the things that Avelia mentioned that we didn't really talk much about is the opportunity that we might have for champions to be a part of our program. And I just like, I think that if that was the case, it would alleviate some of the concerns that I have of losing families, current Mosier families, because a new schedule doesn't meet their families, like work schedules. And it's still an uncertainty because we don't have a bid from Champion saying this is how much it's going to cost you. This is what we can offer. If we take more time to have this conversation and like, I agree, like maybe it is working towards a 4-day schedule in the long run where we have solid Friday opportunity for the families who need it or want it. Like if we could have that all laid out and have like a full package with not quite as many goals or what ifs or risks, then it would feel way more comfortable to me. And also if it was closer to a consensus on the amount of families who think it's a good idea to make the shift.
So personally, for my own personal, and same with Billy, I've tried to be like, but it's not about you, what is better for everyone? I was all for the 4-day, but above all, I think our school needs to start later. And I think we have seen through the information we have gathered, a mandate for school to start later. So I don't know though, I don't necessarily think that this schedule, the hybrid, is the best way to move forward to obtain that. But I do think that it's just too early. I mean, like everybody, we could go back up to that pie graph, like says it's too early. So I don't know. It's a very tough decision to make. And now based on our discussion and looking over some things, I'm more inclined to lean to stay where we're at, although I really wanted that later start time. But also I think we should consider, even if we stay where we are, that we buy the bus or we'll wait for our strategic, but because like with our strategic planning, I think the purchase of the bus would be, is going to be critical to be successful with where that plan is going. So I just want to say, I don't think we should throw out the option of getting the small bus just because we're not going to do this.
And thank you for mentioning that, Stephanie. I think we're, as a board and whole, we're moving forward to our ultimate goal. And it's amazing to see that at least those steps are starting to be initiated.
Yeah, I think that, since the special meeting and this meeting, we're doing the work of a committee. And I think that big policy decisions deserve a robust committee. And so I appreciate all the effort that's gone into this. And I think I feel like we've begun a very important conversation, And I think it's one that, deserves, even more, time. That's my personal opinion. Especially in light of the fact that the consensus, the question I threw in the mix, which was, how is your family doing with, schooling this year? How is your child doing? Everybody said that, I mean, there's things like, oh, there's behavior issues, there's classmate, or this or that. However, in general, overarchingly, everybody is happy that I interface with. So I feel good about that. And we've been through, as a board in the last week, gone through a lot. So I think maybe there's a little bit of me that's also just hesitant to make like a very, very big change, just because we did not too long ago. So. But that's.
The one thing, going back to what Tiffany said, if you did buy this, the small, that's one way, it is maybe working with Lisa to see if, and that's maybe our first step, is if that small bus could make the run over the hills, for the hills, and that would then maybe have this, it's not much help, but maybe the pickup time at Watonka could be more like 6:30 or something, because then it could just drive the freeway. I mean, 15, 20 minutes might help a little bit. So, because, I mean, my ultimate start time of school would be 8 o'clock. And if we ran the world and had the buses, that's when we would start.
Can you gals remind me at least, like what the limiting factor is on the 8 o'clock? Like, why can't?
Because
we
that's
make the bus?
when North Wasco starts, and so that's all their buses are taking kids to North Wasco. They
So,
start at 7:55.
so is it like they would
Don't have any
need
bus.
one more large bus and one more large bus driver? So is that easy to solve for?
No,
And why is that not easy?
because
to
there's
solve
nobody
for?
who wants to be a bus driver.
Well, it's hard to get bus drivers and the bus is really expensive. I mean, I'll just go back to just suggesting that this is not a revolutionary change, that this is an hour shift in the schedule. And that even if we don't have champions, we can let parents drop off their kids at 7:30 if we have a staff person here. So we could accommodate the families that are worried about, I've always dropped at 7:30. And that's really stressful for me to think about dropping at 8:15. So we could have a transition year, whether we had champions or not. And if we are paying for the staff person to be here at 7:30, then they're not paying champion. They're not paying for aftercare. I think the challenges are solvable. I hear you on the uncertainty, but from my perspective, given all of the costs we've discussed, this is modest. This is not a radical cost. This, to me, this is worth it for the families, even if it's just 39 kids riding from the Dalles. And I've heard a lot of interest in like that one family that this isn't working for. But I put up a pie chart with 87% of families say the bus is not working for them. I feel a responsibility to those families. I'm not one of those families. My kids are sleeping when their kids get on the bus, but that's where I'm coming from. And it feels hard for me to survey families 3 times in a row and then do nothing. I do, and I also want to say we haven't talked at all about staff's response, which has been really clear on this. I also feel like there's certain ways we compensate staff and we retain them for long periods of time. And I know from Bug and Michelle recently, the number of times staff had come to her and had said, is the 4-day still on the table? Is the 4-day still on the table? Is the hybrid on the table? My kids in the 4-5 room, they're writing essays on the pros and cons of 4 or 5 days. It is in the air. And I will, it's not just like my personal investment in this project, but I will feel a certain level of, just like we did in response to a need, that had robust support in our community, and just like the energy of thinking creatively together, thinking about problem solving together, meeting all of our families' needs, like what I would be committed to if we did shift the schedule is making these things work. I think the challenges can be addressed. I understand that there are challenges, absolutely, but like, can I talk to folks about what the, like, which of the challenges here are insurmountable?
To me, it kind of feels like we're inviting, we have a list of challenges where we've been working on, and like our to-do list is already, like, we already have stuff we're working on. This just adds more uncertainty and challenges to work on. That's kind
But
of
it
what
also gives us data, for next year, that we would actually see what is working and what's not. And, sometimes sitting and not doing something is an action in itself and not necessarily the one we want.
Yeah, I guess I feel strongly too about the kids who get on the bus in the Dalles at 6, whatever in the morning. But I don't think that the hybrid schedule is the necessarily, it might be like the easiest solution for us right now to make, but it isn't necessarily the best solution. And so and then that on top of all the other stuff makes me more inclined to say like, okay, we've got this idea, we've got some data from our families. Let's see what this looks like if we, try to solve for an 8 o'clock start in a year or two. That, I mean, to me, that would feel like.
If you could solve for the 8 o'clock start, then a 4-day week would be doable.
Exactly.
It's not doable if we can't have an 8 o'clock. start.
Yeah, and that's kind of where like the conversation started with the bus is too early. The start time might be too early, but really it was the bus is too early is where it started. And then we went to, okay, well, what does it look like with a 4-day week? And now we're looking at this hybrid, and it just kind of has morphed in this way where it's like, okay, here, this could work, but does it actually do what we were trying to do in the first place, which was the early start time and 4-day. Like, to me, this doesn't feel like it like addresses everything.
Just adding to Emily's summary, I think the list of skill challenges and what we already have versus adding 2 more challenges. I mean, there is something that we should consider there, because challenge would be for seeing if there is a later pickup time, even 6:30. 15 minutes is 15 minutes, yeah, if even that's the possibility. Second challenge would be the bus. Can we really afford it? Is it sustainable? Is it something that we do want to do? Like, I think those are more target challenges that maybe and within the short term we can work on versus a bigger list that do have solutions. I'm just afraid that the timing of the solutions might be extended and become more problematic.
Dan, what do you think? You wanna
Yeah,
answer
we're gonna do something.
In the long term, I think having safeguards in place like champions or something else, I would like to see us go to a 4-day week with something available on Fridays. I think that if I saw a plurality in those responses of people who wanted to move to the hybrid versus a 46-35, I'd feel more motivated to say we have to do something right now. I think that moving forward, if we had a plan to say, hey, there's too many tasks to take care of before next year to do it next year, but to aim for the year after and just say, we want to buy the bus, that's going to solve some of our issues. And we're going to work with champions next year that will start us off on that path where we start building this pathway to get there. So we have the ability to do that. I want to know, how good people are saying it's good, but how good is this champions, and how will it work after school? How will it work on Fridays as a standalone? My big concern with the 4-day initially was not having food for kids that needed on that 5th day. And then just 3 days off is great for the kids, but I think the consistency of work or doing something at school is good for them as well, having the structure. So I would like to see us move in that direction. To me, no today is not a no forever. But, and I think, there's been a lot of work that's been put into this that is excellent work, which gets us a lot closer to where we want to be. But I don't feel personally that I'm at a place where I would support us going to that for next year, just based on what we've seen so far. I want to move in that direction, but I think that next year is a little bit, there's just not enough hammered out yet, in my opinion. That's my
I mean,
personal
I'm
opinion.
just, I mean, same with 5, this is the easiest thing for me personally,
Say it
but
again.
I also, same with, I mean, the calendar that we have right now is the easiest, obviously, the easiest thing. But, the thought of the hybrid was very appealing.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, I think it's another, just saying, you know, hey, we're planning on doing this the following year and working on getting, you know, the buses. You know, we kind of talked about, like, we're relying on having a staff member that knows how to drive a bus, you know, and how that is gonna work out, and what if that doesn't work out. And, you know, having champions, I think, would be really helpful to a lot of our families, so.
And I think having some deliverables for everyone on both sides, so you can say, hey, the 35 that are on one side of it, here's what we're going to work on moving forward, and does this allay some of your fears or concerns? We know we want to move in this direction, for the 46 that voted for it. We're not saying no, we just need to do more work to get there, and here's what it's gonna take, so that they're not felt like, they don't feel like, hey, we put this energy into this and then it's over with. It's, okay, they need to keep working on it to solve some of the problems that are there, and I do think the 4-day period
Yeah.
with an extra
4
day
days
is the
better.
best day. That's the best way in my opinion.
I mean,
I'd
that
like to
makes-
see that happen. But I don't want us just to have people left out on that good day.
I will just caution on the 4-day dream, which I hold. I love the 4-day. Don't get me wrong, but you are, D20, the likelihood that D21 is gonna change their busing to make the 4-day, an 8 AM start for us work, it seems very small, especially in that kind of time frame. Like, you know, so how are, like, it is not that we did not ask the right question. It is that we worked with the possibilities that we had, and I don't see those possibilities shifting in a year or two. And so, you know, it's very nice to say to people, we would love to go to the 4-day, but, you know, I think you're gonna run up against the exact same limitation that we had this year, which is you don't have a bus at 8 AM, and unless you start getting into, I wanna buy 2 buses and I wanna have 2 bus drivers and run all my own routes, which is gonna increase this cost as well. You know, so what you have is this hybrid option currently, which is not many more Fridays off than what we currently have. It is a modest shift in order to have a later start time. But I would love, I mean, don't get me, I would love an 8 AM to 3 PM day. Like, I think that would be ideal. It seems very challenging to get there, and maybe another smart person needs to look at it. But, you know, if Michelle, Lisa, and I could find a way, I don't have a lot of hope that like another committee is gonna find a way. And I do think we need to, I like what you said about answering the 46 families, because we had a ton of families really pumped about the 4-day, sad to see that go. And also really following along on the hybrid conversation. And I think, to me, I'm an elected official with a majority vote, and I'm going against the majority. I better have some good answers. Like, I don't feel, I mean, you know, you guys know where I stand. But it does make me a bit uncomfortable, and I don't actually think I've really heard articulated what it is. It feels like a public policy shift. What does that mean? What do we respond to families and say, hey, we couldn't do it. We got a majority in favor, but we couldn't do it because.
I don't think that that's it. I think it's like, right now, it's not the right option.
Because
We don't have but we haven't looked at the budget for April. We don't know the contract for Champion. I think Michelle answered the initial problem that brought this to light. There was an equity concern about the kids boarding the bus at Wetumpka at 6:20. And
It's 6:10, but yeah.
6:10.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
And the strategic planning seems to be leading in the direction of purchasing a small bus. So-
Well, that's.
No,
that's
it
not
could just
part-
be.
Yeah.
It would blend
beneficial.
well with where we are, yeah.
If there were to be a bus purchase, it could potentially bring those kids they could maybe, I don't know, board the bus later, which was the initial.
But it's only 20 minutes there, like possibly the 6:30, that's
Yeah,
like.
yeah. It's not a lot, but it's
But it's, no,
something.
but it is
Something.
significant, it is
I think it's
significant,
something.
you know, I mean, it's,
I think another thing for me is that we're in a big financial outlay right now. And we may see a positive result on the other side of the and that may open up, if we see a, you know, a significant amount of money come back, that opens up the possibility to buy a second bus for me in the long run. So if next year during this time, the board is sitting down and we have the ability to buy a 80-passenger bus as well as a 28-passenger bus, and then all that's needed is another driver. And that makes a 8 o'clock time possible.
And Lisa has a $50 stick for you. You can find her a driver.
Well, it might be possible to find someone who can drive the bus and work.
Yeah.
You know, someone.
And that happens a lot. So Sherman
much is a
County,
big
or
bus?
no, is it Sherman? Yeah, Palawasto, Sherman County, whatever. They do their own busing.
But
So,
their finances, not like we have to do anything today.
Right. I feel too that with the 4-day, unless we can start, unless we can make the construction hours not be less, like I don't wanna go to 4 days. Because I don't want our hours of
Yeah,
construction.
okay, I think that we were all on that same page.
So that would be a hard thing unless we could start at 8, right, and go till 3:30, that would be longer, or what would it be?
so we went, so
Potentially for 4 days,
the
like,
ultimate
you know.
time for 4-day
Yeah.
is 8 to 3:35.
Yeah, okay,
But
so,
that I know gets you all your hours.
yeah.
Actually,
so-
3:40 for the 7th and 8th graders, that gets you your, it just definitely gets you your hours. It's just that you gotta, but the other thing is, you can't start at 7:30 because then we also come out against, like, there's also, like, you can't do too long a day. That's also.
Right,
Yeah.
no, well, yeah, without,
Can't
yeah,
remember how,
so-
yeah, they also don't let you have kids in school.
Right, we wouldn't want, yeah, I would.
Also, though, Julia, just kind of getting back to your thought about like, how do we respond to the folks
Yeah.
who were excited? This, like, the idea for a 4-day or a hybrid schedule was originated amongst some group here. It didn't
No.
come to us from the
it was,
community.
it was during your.
It was during my,
your
it's exactly
executive
during,
session.
yeah, when I
Yeah.
was, and I didn't bring it up, other
It's over a
people, like,
year.
there was families that brought it up, so. You know,
Mhm.
how do we get the 4-day week? So when I came to do my interview that I was. Yeah, in the gym, it actually came up during.
Somebody in that,
Mhm.
somebody questioned about
Yeah,
how.
somebody
to-
questioned it,
Okay.
so like, how do we get the 4-day week? So-
Okay.
So, yeah. it's-
But it was, so that's like one voice saying it, and then it getting, it wasn't like it came to us from a survey response, like, we need a 4-day week. we need
I
a
also just
hybrid
want to
week.
say, like, that it is a conversation amongst many, especially rural.
It was in the last
Yeah.
Hood River School District notes, but I mean, a lot of schools are looking at it. And it gets very strong staff support and for look where our teachers are paid compared to other professionals. And, you know, you start to wonder about like, how do we have benefits for teachers? But, you know, in addition to sort of family and school benefits, but I think.
I do want to just let everyone know that, you know, there's considerations to between the 5-day and the hybrid between how many days we offer and the sponsoring district. So with the 5-day, we have 9 days less of school than U21 schools. So for families, you know, who have 2 kids, there's you know, some days when childcare might be tricky, where Champions would probably alleviate some of that. With the hybrid, there would be 15 days of difference between the how many days U21 kids are in the school in Mosier school. So you know, I think you know, for the folks who, you know, may be very attached to the idea of 4-day or hybrid currently, I would say, you know, this is not, it's our responsibility to address many, it's more than just a preference. It's, we have to look at how it will impact family, our relations with our sponsoring district. We have to consider the uncertainty of the times, we have a lot of responsibility. And
Yes, I know.
I've never been opposed to a 4-day. In France, Wednesdays are off for elementary school students often. However, the society is built around it so that, you know, families are able to make adjustments. So in ours, I think that it's very challenging for working families because there are very different kinds of schedules. And different kinds of working sectors, so, you know, I'm the kind of person that probably measures 4 times before I cut once. And, I don't think that is. If folks are attached, and I don't know where we're going, what schedule we're choosing, however, I would say that, whether folks support it or don't support it, we have a responsibility to fully address all possible challenges. More so the challenges than the benefits initially.
Yeah, I would like to keep moving forward with trying to go towards this. I just, you know, I'm in support of it. I'm still not doing this next year. I think it's too much.
Maybe that, you know, to make it possible, if it hinges on the transportation, it may require some collaboration between D21 and the Hood River School District. And everybody makes like, let's say how, you know, school districts can schedule better to, maybe prioritize the younger kids. I don't know. But I think, you know, if the 4-day is something that other districts are currently looking at, and this, you know, clearly, you know, I think everyone's hoping to do that. My inclination would be to try to partner up, and not go out on our own, but
I think the beauty of a charter school is we can be kind of the model for other people and we can show them how it does work. And, you know, that freedom is something maybe we haven't really exercised as often as we could. This is a big board for a small school and, you know, we can make a big difference if we're willing to measure twice and cut once.
Calibrate your tools too.
That's right. And I am somebody who loves to tackle the challenges and it's actually, it's like delicious to solve one and knowing that you're going towards this greater goal. I have big concerns that we are going to put this off another year and then we're going to put it off another year. And then my kids won't ever get the benefits of this 4-year. And the people who are here and have voted for it and want it, they're gonna go to Hood River. You know, they're gonna be mad at us for fully ignoring them. And
Whoa, let's not say.
okay, I went
We're having a
little
good
hyperbole there.
conversation. Like this is, I think
Yeah.
this is a really constructive conversation where we're looking at all of the intricacies of a significant decision. But I
Yeah.
also just want to remind, like, I want us to not forget that there were 35 folks, which isn't that much less than on the other side, right? So like, we can do everything we want to do to support those 46 people, but we also need to support the 35. I don't want to forget them, just because it's not as big of a number.
Or the 65, you know, because if you're noticing, you know, the stall tax, just make it so that those numbers are gonna equalize. Because you're gonna have your camps.
I think you also could say, hey, we're going to move in this direction. So the
That would be
35 of
great,
you,
if it's an
who,
actual-
you know, we're going to do this. It's just a matter of, it's gonna take us some time. We want to vet out some of our options. So we know this after school care program is gonna work for us on Fridays. We want to know that. And so that way the 35 who are not wanting to move that direction can make plans to adjust their schedules accordingly.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would like
I
to.
I
have
agree,
some
if we
on-
are really gonna own it,
Yeah.
then.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll keep working on it.
I mean, I think one of the things that people get really worried about is the amount of notice that families get. You know, that this is like, well, these families are already pretty locked into next year, and now we're gonna shift the schedule by an hour, and like, is that gonna work for families or not? And, you know, I think that you will always run into that because you are always dealing with the calendar year and the next year. And so, I mean, one possibility, and I don't think that we're necessarily there, but I wish we were, to say like, hey, like, we are moving to a 4-day calendar in 2026, 27, and we're gonna put it in the teacher's contract, and we're gonna work it out. But community, you're on notice, like, that is our plan. We're gonna have one more year, and this will be your chance. There will be a committee. You can get on it, and we're gonna problem solve the heck out of all the problems. But I do think otherwise what you do is you run into what we experienced this year. It's like, you're at March, and people are going, well, it's too late, and the budget, and another, you know, you really have to like, it's sort of like hiring an ED. You need to implement, and like, my thinking on moving forward with this change now is that then we have a committee that problem solves with parents that call in and say, are freaking out, and we say, we are gonna fix that problem. We're gonna fix that problem, and we are gonna figure it out with you. And there's a commitment there. And I think that would have to be packaged together. I think you could also do it in this, like, we're not gonna change anything next year. You guys have a year to work with us, but we are committed to, we got 65%, and we got all of the teachers, basically, and staff wanting a 4-day. So we are gonna do that for 26, 27. And I don't know if there's the temperament for that on the board, but I do think that that's the kind of planning that's required to really pull it off. And that's probably our last year with Michelle, maybe, who said 2 to 3 years. I did think if we could afford it, we have a longer.
Might be a little bit longer.
Anyway, I throw it out there as a middle ground of like, and it doesn't mean there couldn't be another board meeting where you said, actually, scrap it, we couldn't make it happen. But I do think if you want to get families' attention and you want to tell the staff that have said consistently, this is what they want, you're saying, we hear you and we're committed to you. And we also hear all of the issues that we haven't dotted every T and crossed it, or dotted every I and crossed every T yet. And so we're gonna spend a year, and this is gonna be and there's gonna be a work group.
I'd like to be that.
That would feel,
I'm in the boat of what Julia's saying. With the tweak that I think that the busing is a huge intake, and I would feel much more as voicing my voice, making it in a 2-year mark, but it's always specifying if we are able to accomplish it a year earlier, that's the way we're going to move, but we are going to expect this max on a 2-year mark. I think we would set ourselves to succeed in this goal versus later on coming over and saying, forget it, erase it, and then losing that momentum. And I think that right now is the time that that momentum is starting to be built up. We still have more to do, but I think for me, it's just that busing. If we're able to move towards that, and we can set an expectation 2 years, but always open, if it becomes earlier, we will go for it. That's our goal. But I think that would allow us to continue with that momentum and reach that goal in a more realistic timeframe. That's my perspective.
I like just doing it out a year. That would be just because I feel like you're just kicking it further down. And if we say that now, that's a whole year of working out the problems that we're.
I say it because how challenging has it been for a business manager?
Yeah, well, but I mean, I think if you just say, I think you can still say in the 26, 27 school year, we're gonna move to, and
I think the smart thing is to move to the 4-day, because that definitely didn't seem like it had the most, appeal to people, and having the champions in there, and I just looked up, so kids can be in school for 8 instructional hours, which I think we could maybe tweak that a little bit. It might mean that we have maybe, I don't know, so it's not, I thought it was 6.5, so it's not undoable, but I think that it's just like problem solving that a little bit more. And, and Lisa's gonna be probably key to us problem solving. So that would be a 7:30 to 3:30 day.
And I would welcome any board members that are really interested in this issue to join the committee. It is like, things happen, I know people want like a ton of process around stuff, but things happen because a couple of individuals track down the answers to stuff and are persistent and are relentless on it. And that's how, and then you engage in a democratic process, and there's an iterative process, but you need a few people to really drive that bus. And like, if you don't have that person, like I fear,
Pun intended.
no pun intended, but I fear that if this gets dropped this year, like I feel like I tried it, I'm not gonna try it again next year. Like you got, like you can only do this one spring. And then you're like, there would need to be a new person that's really motivated to help those families in the Dalles, to talk to Lisa in person, to knock on windows at 6 a.m. down at Watonka and do all of the footwork. But it doesn't just happen organically, and it doesn't, and we've tried to have committees. We dissolved our committees because we're all busy. We're all like parents and working. A lot of us are working, and like, it is hard to fit in. Like, it's a volunteer job, what we're doing.
Well, that's part of like the challenges, the list of challenges. Like, we have a strategic planning committee right now. We have a policy committee. We have a lot of stuff that we're just, almost feels like we're trying to get caught up to the point where we'd be like, okay, what's next? What's next is exploring this 4-day school week. Like, to me, it just doesn't feel like it's the right time to make a change. We need more time to do the work that you're saying. All of the work that you're saying, and get it lined up, and then.
My one passion is like, my little experience in a school is you never feel caught up. Like, then there is always an element of, I mean, Michelle probably.
That is,
that
life. Yeah.
I
Or in
can
a
see
family,
that.
or, like, there is always a new, like, the building is gonna consistently need, like, there's always gonna be, and the minute you have a strategic plan, it becomes stale, and you have a, so like, there is, it's sort of never ending, and that's fine. I just think you need people working on that project. You may also need people doing this discrete project.
I wonder if this, like, if we do end up setting up a committee, if it should be an ED committee so that we can bring in more family member, or not family members, but.
I guess I want to know, what's the purpose of the committee?
Good.
It feels like I heard you say, I'd be okay if we did this, not this year, not 25, 26, but 26, 27. With exception to Amelia, but Amelia, I am gonna say, that is way out there. I think for families, especially that are families that have middle schoolers, that just seems far out. And I think at any time, if you're like, because you should have it fairly well planned, probably sometime next fall, what's gonna happen. But then anytime in the fall, you could say, oh, no, we're not gonna work. So, and I think you're gonna know that.
I guess my fear is there's a new strategic planning, there's been changes. How are we going to, like, I guess I'm just trying to be realistic in my mind of if we try to implement and we are ending the strategic planning, but yet we're trying to make this change, like, it just seems like it's a lot to ask and to do.
Well, the strategic plan should be done by, you're gonna vote on that in May. You're voting, so we're done with that.
And the implementation.
Well, but that's a 5-year ongoing process. That's
I
5
understand.
years,
Yeah,
so,
but it's something new.
Yeah, it'll hopefully be a lot of new things.
Yeah.
I believe we've identified our challenges, right? The 4-day challenge is instructional hours.
Yeah.
The busing, right, and the Fridays. Those are the main challenges we need to solve in that, which I think we can solve. I think we'll have a better idea where we stand financially after we get through this year. That will allow us to say, hey, we can afford to finance the other ones if we have to. We can look at, working with Lisa on what that looks like. If we
Yeah.
do that.
I mean, I think in the scheme of things, just having a bus here that would help, that would just help a lot of the
I think a 28-person bus is is like I
Yeah.
wanna do that no matter
Yes.
what, I forget, I agree with, but I'm saying it next, an additional bus.
Right, our
Right.
big one.
Right, and then having staff and say, hey, we encourage you to go and get the CDL driving instruction, and we would like you to do, someone from our staff to do that as well.
Well,
And try to get the kids that extra time.
Right.
If we get that bus, I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
we would
Right,
address that
for next year.
initial
we can get them.
concern from November.
I mean, I think that's a really, I mean, I just think that's a
Yeah.
good plan that you're saying, hey, but in 26, 27, where the plan is to go for a 4-day school week. You
We
know,
also-
and,
yeah.
and at any point, I think you can say, you know, I don't think I wouldn't say at any point. I would say any point up until December of 25, you can say, maybe January of 26, you can say, oh, it's not gonna work, we're just gonna go, you know, with regular things, yeah.
I think you'd also be able to project out your enrollment. based
Yeah,
on that too,
yeah,
by
we
saying,
can
hey, we're
kinda
going to
see.
do this, here's how, and so
And
if you
people would
can't
be
do it.
signing
let
up
us know.
for knowing that that was, like, I think
I
they
think
would
you
also
could
be knowing that.
use it as a selling point too. I have no
Yeah.
doubt that you will attract more families if you say that we're gonna do a 4-day week.
Mhm.
And I think this is a really this is a tricky time to try to attract families because people are already enrolling in different programs, but having it as something that you're advertising. And I also want to say, like, the staff who really want this, they'll wait one more year for it,
Yeah.
but that it gives them something.
Yeah.
Where right now, I think that there's gonna be an initial disappointment, like there has been a buzz in the air about the possibility of the later start for the 4-day, and I just, there's a part of me that would really like to return something to the community that's gotten really engaged.
I mean, I think that, like, writing that to the community is like after much work and thought, you know, this is the plan moving forward, is it's not gonna be this year, but it would be the following year, and the plan is for 4-day. And just figure out.
And we will offer.
And,
things on
and
the
we're,
fifth
and
day.
next year, yeah, and that will, and we'll start working with Champion to, you know, see what that.
And I'll repeat what I said earlier, but there was a lot of interest in the 4-day, even on that 3-day one, and then it split, the 4-day people split. Some of them were hybrid and some of them were 5 days. So, I mean, I still think that's why you don't see the 65% when we just surveyed the 4-day, you got 65% in favor of 4-day. And now you're getting more like 60% for that.
So are you feeling the 4-day is more popular?
The 4-day was more popular than the hybrid.
Yeah. I think they like the consistency.
Yeah.
Because it is a very consistent,
Yeah.
it's always 4 days.
And if
Sometimes
we-
they're there on a Friday.
And if we had Friday service,
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah.
And that's up to that point of consistency.
well, should we make a, like, decision?
Yeah, we should. Are we, everyone good with the discussion, we're done discussing?
Can we make a motion for both 2 years?
Yeah.
This coming year and the year.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Two separate motions or the same motion?
So let's do 2 separate.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I make them, I'm gonna wait till. Make a motion that we stick with our current schedule for the next school year. Can I get a second? All those in favor? Any opposed, please voice your opposition.
I oppose.
Any abstain?
Well,
Two.
I try not to be rude, but I need to, let's cover.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a motion that we move to a 4-day school week for the 26-27 school year. I guess second. 6-27.
Feels like a really big decision.
Yeah. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion that we move to a 4 days.
Can I amend your
Yeah.
motion? Can it be moved to a 4-day school week
Or,
with an option on Friday.
Yes. You see the amended, the Friday option.
What does that mean?
That means that there'll be an option for some.
Oh, okay,
kids to
okay.
go to school on Friday.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Any opposed, voice your opposition?
That's nice. to see.
Can we second that one?
Right, yeah, it feels better to have consensus on everything, so. Even though I was really excited about hybrid.
I'm just really excited for the later start time. That's
Yeah.
like my biggest.
But that's still,
So
do we
that's
need a
gonna be our
motion
next
on?
thing, is to go to, is it the bus?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for next thing.
So Friday, is there anyone else?
Okay, that brings us to item number 12, discussion of potential action on the MCS school bus. The one thing we haven't discussed so far is what the financing.
I think
What is that?
we're gonna hear back on this 28 question about this week. I think we might just hold off on this since it's not,
Okay.
I mean, you tell me.
I worry it
But
is.
could we have could we have a
Decision to
decision to
get that
purchase a
one?
bus pending financing? How about that? Because that way, like, if it's not going, the good news is if you say that, yes, we can purchase a bus, then we can do that. But if we can't, it doesn't help Lisa with the
Yeah.
negotiating part of it,
Yeah.
And then I'll look into
And
that.
we may have to move quickly
Yes.
on the buses, because there were some that were like on assembly line and they could add seats too still. So
Yeah.
it may be better to just say yes, if we want, if we know, if we have consensus on a bus, to say yes now and then.
And on Julia's note, I feel that this smaller box, even though it does fit a whole classroom, and I'm sure other classrooms, I can see how that could become a really popular bus if you don't jump on it.
And there are 35 person, I mean, there are other ones we can look into.
The
Not-
worry for Lisa was that if we had a fairly new bus driver, and on those roads there, like, we had no problem with the new bus driver getting in a big bus and coming down the freeway, had a lot of concerns with riding up on 7 Mile and all that. And so I asked the question, well, if we're going from the 20 to 28, is that do you feel still comfortable? And she said yes, because it only adds I think she told me 3 feet. Like, it's not that many feet, but she still felt comfortable. Now, she did not feel
Keep
comfortable.
going bigger,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the thing's like, maybe after a year or two, she's gonna feel super comfortable and you can have a bigger bus, and that could change, I don't know. So.
But my point is also that there's only one bus that she's offered, but there might.
Oh, I'm sure there's other.
And we'll find out.
Yeah, yeah, and I have the bus transportation guy at Corbett, they're always looking at us. And there's a lot of people switching from diesel to hybrid buses because PG is giving them all this incentive. So there are going to be a lot of buses out on the thing that are fairly new.
We already have a good diesel guy.
Yeah,
Just make it with the boiler. Yeah, with the bus motion, could we make a motion to purchase bus pending financing and
Cap on it.
offer, looking to the possibility of offering a later pickup time with our kids at Tonka?
I think those are two separate
That's the
things.
second bus.
Okay, yeah, I think those are two separate things. I mean, I think purchasing a bus is one motion.
Because you wouldn't get the bus this September.
I still think you want to get, like, I still think, I don't know.
The bus will be, pending the board's approval of the strategic plan would be very helpful to make that strategic plan a reality. Some of the, like, place-based learning and getting out of the classroom, like one class could fit in the 28-person bus to do those kinds of things, so it'd be nice.
Does anyone know the CDL time? It's like 3 months.
No,
It's like 40 hours.
It's 30 to 40 hours.
Okay,
And
so it can
and
become a pretty.
we already have a team member that's met with Lisa and is already like working on trip, and that will be in the summer.
Okay, nice.
And the other thing is to also put that out for any other employee if they'd like to do that, to get them trained.
Driving the bus.
I was thinking. Yep. And we could.
I'd sign up for it for field trips if I wanted to.
Huh?
I'll sign up for it for field trips or something if you want me to.
Yeah.
I don't really want to, but I'll do it.
There you go. Yeah.
I want to
I'll do it when I'm done.
How soon?
And
That's
10 years.
Oh, that's hilarious. Can we mark it in our calendar?
That's not very far away.
No.
We'll be here quick. All right. The motion is that we purchase a school bus pending financing details. Second. Tiffany, all those in favor? Any opposed? Voice representation. Motion passes. Okay.
That was everyone.
Mhm. Policy update. We were all, you wanna do it?
Oh,
Go ahead.
Can we just add that, just a request if this does go through, just for follow-up and seeing if that change of 15-20 minutes could happen?
Right, and I mean.
I don't think we need
think
a
we a
action
motion for that. I
item,
don't need
just
that.
like-
I'll just look at,
Yeah.
I'll just look into that and report back in here.
I just wanted to bring it back into.
You have been
empowered.
Emailing Lisa right now.
You just roll through the
yeah, the only one that I have something to say about is BBC.
BBC.
BDC. Should I just say it? You're gonna read them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Policies.
yep. So, I sent you all the lists of policies that we're reviewing for this month. We'll do the first reading. The one that I sent for BDC, which is, the board's policy review. Policy. We didn't propose any changes except for the very end, there's like one sentence that says that we'll review it on an annual basis. But really what we're doing now is looking at the policies on a monthly basis so that we can catch up. So the change is not reflected in what I sent you, but next version will say review on a monthly versus an annual basis. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so these selected policies were sent to you all for your first reading. I'm just gonna state them quickly so we have them on the record. BBA, BBAA, BBFA, BBB, BFCA, BBFB, BBBH, BBBHAR, BFC, BHE, BBF, BBBDA, BBC, GBN, JBAAR, and JFC. And so,
Let me tell you, this was a very long committee meeting.
yeah, we just have these selected out for each committee meeting month, and we're just kind of trying to click through them and get them all done. The ones that were sent to you with the edits were made, our recommendations are sent to you, but you can see their went by, right?
Yes.
So that you can see what the options are that we did not take. Yeah.
Can I say thank you for all that work and making it so nice for us to read? For me to read.
Any questions on the policies? So next meeting will be the second time from the adoption of them. And then we'll have another group of them for first reading next time.
That kind of a little rotation.
Yeah, we got a schedule.
Yeah, we got a schedule.
It says action item, but there's not an action.
Well,
The first reading.
Just the first reading.
That is the action item.
That brings us to 14, strategic planning goals draft.
Okay. So there, as you know, we've got a committee working on strategic action planning. And we've met a number of times to the point where we have some draft goals that we wanted to put in front of you all, the board, today. With the intention of kind of just putting these on your radar, so that you can start thinking about them between now and next month. Am I right on that when I say that? Yeah, and next month we'd like to get some like constructive input on these goals. So some of the things that Bill, our facilitator, asked you all to think about is like, if you would look at these, and first of all, I would say, if you have any suggestions or changes or things that are missing, that would be helpful to hear. But also, as you look at these 8 goals, 7 goals, think about like, what would the priority be?
Yeah, and he really wants you to think about priority, and it could be like, or you can also, this is a lot of goals, and we don't have to have all these goals, but we can have all these goals, so it's kind of up to you, but he did want to like, these are in no order right now, no order, and so what do you think would be a priority as a, a board for you? What's your first, second, third choice priority? So he wants you to be thinking about that.
You want us to, like,
No, we didn't ask, he didn't want us to do anything other than put them out in front of
Okay,
him.
and then be
Just
thinking about
be ready.
and then thinking about how to prioritize them.
Yeah, and then we'll come back in April and have some conversation with you. At that point, we should also have some objectives drafted for y'all to look at and provide input on as well. And then the goal is to get this all approved at the May board meeting. Then the committee will work with the staff to develop out the action plans for each objective and goal. What else?
coincides nicely with me because that's our like members meeting as well in there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So everyone will get to see that. Anything else from? That's not it. So if you just look at the first one, that's kind of like one of the big things that the first couple, or maybe the first one, focusing on kind of an outdoor place-based creative learning space would be really awesome for us. Yeah. Lucy Bird.
Yes. Over there.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that that's it. Any questions or like initial thoughts?
Say one more time, what you want feedback on the priorities, do you want of these goals, or do you want feedback on the goals themselves?
I think that feedback on the goals itself is good too. Yeah. And personally, I think that that's like more of a first step than like, we want everybody's input and then we talk about priority. Because if you have a goal that, or if you see a gap here or something that just doesn't make sense, I think that it'd be great to hear that before we prioritize anything.
And the best place for input is at one of your strategic planning goals meetings, or?
I think that the best place for input will be our April board meeting.
Okay.
And if you have like wordsmithing and stuff, it'd be great to get that before the board meeting so that we can share with everyone. Yeah.
So going on what Julia said, do you think it would be helpful if we do have, send you an email, like just have a point of contact? And maybe you'll see something that is just repeated, like, and we can just start conversation there as well.
And
Like,
maybe not start conversation
But
there, but
just-
we'll get,
yeah,
we can get materials.
yeah,
Yeah, so we will have the conversation at the board meeting, but if you have input that you want to share ahead of time, then you can send it to me. And I'll compile everybody's input for our conversation.
yes. And when I said start conversation, I meant in the board meeting, like,
Yes,
that's gonna be a
yes,
focus, because we see something repeated. Sorry.
No,
Thanks
I'm
for
writing it
clarifying.
down. No conversation on email.
Yeah, no.
Okay, does that sound good? So maybe like,
Thanks for offering that opportunity. Input into.
Well, and I would say specifically, if you have a chance to look at them before Wednesday and you wanna give Emily any input, cause we're gonna like dive into like going into objectives for these schools. I mean, don't you think? Like, right?
I think,
Cause if the committee gets far down the line, just as is with our objectives.
But I don't think the priority makes, I mean.
No,
I
not
guess-
priority, it's more like if they're
There's a
seeing
goal. Yeah,
something,
concerned about
yes,
a goal.
if they're seeing, yes,
Okay, if there's
yeah.
concern about goals,
Yes.
don't make us work.
yeah. Not the prioritizing of anything, but if you do have something, let Emily know so she can share with us all on our Wednesday meeting what goals missing, or if something, if you're like, you don't, I don't know. you know,
Yeah.
Whatever feedback.
I think
you
that
have.
that's like, in like a perfect world, that would work out that way. So if you have something before Wednesday, you can get it to me,
Yes.
great. But if not, then we'll still take the input, because this
Oh,
will
yeah.
be a board decision to approve
Yeah,
or to adopt in the end.
and we'll
Yeah.
have another one also anyway before the next board meeting on the 7th of April, but. I'm just not wanting us to get too into the weeds in the committee and then hear
Yeah.
from them like, oh yeah, we forgot, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
Any other questions for Emily on the strategic planning goal? I'd like to table the skate park support letter for until the next meeting, if possible.
You know what, I think the time wise for them, does that work? I don't think.
There's more discussion than it goes into it than me, so. I've had people reach out with that being on the agenda, that have concern about. Which is issue in the city, and whether we're getting involved in something that may be more contentious in the city that we're not aware of all the details that are involved there. So I just want to be careful as a board that, you know, we maybe be careful about weighing in on something that may have other conflict out there. I don't know. I'm not unaware. So. Yes,
Um,
I don't know. I read the letter.
yeah.
Yeah, I really.
It sounds good to me, but I don't know. I mean, I also, you know, what I don't know might be hurtful and helpful.
um,
Do you know much about it?
Yeah, I was tracking for a while and I did, the contention that I heard a while back was around some property owners nearby being concerned about trees that were gonna potentially be cut down. But I think that that got worked through between the skate park committee and the neighbors. And then the only other because it's, I mean, it's a skate park in honor of a community member, a young community member who probably went to school here actually, who died early. And so I think that that in and of itself is drumming up more of a like community support feel. The only other inkling that I've ever heard of there being contention was just recently I saw somebody posted that the city council is talking about it at their meeting to maybe this week. And somebody put in a comment, like, how, like, has there been conversation locally around the best use financially for that property versus like, as a skate park, the best financial use for that pristine, like railroad front property? Where it was actually, and that's sort of a moot point in some regards because the property was donated from the city, or it's a city park, and the land was UP settlement land. So after the wreck, yeah, the derailment. The location is right before the bridge, kind of, you know where the new charging stations are? It's right between those and the crane, yeah.
So the one you're missing is the location is the biggest concern. If you look up, you know, what makes a skate park like turn unsavory, you know, and without getting into specifics, it's railroad. You're right by the railroad tracks, you're right by not one but two highways. And the underpass right there. That is the three biggest risk factors for a skate park. So it's like they worked so hard on it, and I feel like, but if we could just pick it up and move it somewhere else is the biggest. I mean, it's got some.
Yeah.
So, but all the other things you said were, you know.
Well, and I do know that the location was something that was discussed because originally it was possibly gonna be right here, which would have been really cool. Down by the growers. But the reason that they moved it was something around the cost and how much it would take to like backfill. Because over there, the land is already kind of contoured, so they can work with the shape of the land versus over here in the flat parking lot, if they would have to pull in too much material. So I know for a fact that that is not any, like that decision has been made about where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And they're moving forward with it. They're looking to get city council approval.
And so
No,
it's more of, you know, getting, you know, when I'm from Salem. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the skate park in Salem, but it is a problem. And, you know, it's right next to a really historic, children's museum. And just every year we go there, it's just this beautiful place and it just gets, the fences get higher and, you know, with needles being pushed through that. And so they add covering all the time. And it's just, it breaks my heart. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I would hate for our school to have a security guard again. And I'd hate to get involved in this issue when I know, you know, hearing so much from the community. Anyway, I just maybe think maybe it's not something we get involved in. Yeah.
I'd say table it, so I, like, in my opinion, so I can get more information, like on my own about it.
Yeah, I also wonder, I love skate parks. I think the kids have a ton of fun at them of all ages, but I also wonder about like the things that the school weighs in on, like this is a city development, like, you know, whether, you know, like there's what the city builds, unless it's like, we're gonna partner with the school and we're gonna do day activities there, and this is gonna be a PE resource, like then I'm like, okay, this is a school project. But otherwise, I think the bar's got, for me, I would love for the bar to be kind of high on what we weigh in on what we don't, and that this is a community conversation. It's not necessarily a school board conversation unless it really implicates the school. So I'd be I'd be fine tabling it, and for more information, but I also would encourage us just to think about what we weigh in and what we don't, and then we can maybe going forward send a clearer message to the community, like if it's a school resource, like, they're gonna build a new community center and the school's gonna use it for the middle school, like, let's weigh in on that. But, if it's a new firehouse, we're probably not gonna weigh in if our students aren't going there or doing stuff there, like.
You might need a policy on that.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean, we can have
We might have one. Yeah, no, I think that's probably good.
I did too, like. I think we should table it and look more into, we might have a policy and they might take care of even what we have, if we are going to answer or not, like. Yeah.
What did you said in the past that the board has signed? Because when they came to us asking, would this be something that the board or maybe Michelle would sign? Because it's a grant, right? They're trying to get funding to make it. So when they asked, Dan, I asked you and you said that the board has done things like this in the past.
I don't recall exactly what it was, but we have.
Us for Main Street Mosier specifically.
I don't remember. What it
Okay.
was.
I mean, the most recent was the bond measure.
Yeah.
Resolution.
It was a resolution.
Mhm.
The bond for.
Northwest.
Yeah, but because that's for education.
Yeah.
Like I did something for Main Street Grocers because they're getting a grant to give to us. Yeah, to help us, like, I do see there's a difference between that,
I mean, we could say maybe along the lines of.
Would they would like to
We
do
support
something in the front of our
any
school
extracurricular
instead of-
activity. Something along the lines where you're like, maybe support, extracurricular activities for
Yes.
kids in the community. Without naming it individually. That's why I wanted to table it. 'Cause I think
Yeah.
there's that-
No, I mean, I know families that are really excited about it, and I'm not weighing in specifically on the skateboard. I'm just questioning whether this is a board thing or not. I mean, if they want to partner with us and create a PE program around it and want that to be part of their grant, I think that's fodder for us to think about, or like whether it fits into our strategic planning somehow, or it's a goal.
I'll make a motion that we table it, Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed?
I'm gonna just abstain,
Okay.
but I don't think it's that.
That brings us to 16, garden update.
Oh, yes, but we have to ask you to do.
Oh,
You already-
yeah.
We already asked him, I'm like.
Do we got him a date? Do we have a date?
Okay,
I'll get
I
the
can give
date.
an update. So we are going to get the garden ready for kids to plant this spring. And the steps to get there are first, Dan is gonna take his tractor out there. And you're agreed to do that. Dan's gonna take his tractor out there, like basically between now and the end of the month, maybe the first week of April. And level it out. And then we're going to put together another awesome weekend work party, with the gardeners, the green space gardeners. And during the work party, we'll lay fabric, with weed mat down, we'll put some beds together, we'll put the beds placed throughout the garden, and then start loading out soil and
Yeah,
and
so-
stuff like that.
But we also, Mitch and Don talked about this and today too, is one of the thoughts is if you can lay the fabric down and then take two of the garden, like get all the beds put together and we'll just have them, don't put them in the space, but have two and then be able to have a load of dirt, dug soil, because we're doing gardens. Have a load, and then having it, like the two beds are here and and having it come in, fill those, then putting two more down so that you can actually use the tractor. But yeah, because hauling all that much soil.
Oh, that'll be a lot.
Yeah.
The
There's
ground has
not
to be
one,
solid.
huh?
The ground has to be pretty solid to drive back and forth from wherever the soil is to
On the
there.
map, yeah.
Just because
Okay.
it'll squash it in and cause a bunch of,
Okay.
it'll create a ton of mud.
Okay.
So like coming in once, driving
maybe
in,
just a lot
leveling
of-
it,
well,
great,
maybe
but
just a
coming
lot
back
of-
and forth.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah, it's really.
Did not 10,
Yeah.
but like 4 large beds in my house. And it helps a lot when you put all the branches and stuff in the bottom.
Right.
And then, what is it?
Google culture.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, just like,
so we'll do
we
that.
have a ton of corrugated all the time we generate,
Yeah.
so.
We just have to pull the plastic tape off of it.
Yeah, so, yeah, there was a, yeah, bitches
That's
already
pretty-
on.
I know, we
Yeah,
talked about
we already, yeah, we've already talked
No
about
way.
this, and we have some branches and stuff like that, so we would try to fill them up.
We also have a lot of cardboard from MoCo.
Yeah.
Instead of,
You
you know what I mean?
My husband worked for International Paper, it's corrugated. Cardboard is what a cereal box.
Yeah. But basically it's just like getting something.
Yes, if you look at it,
What about, access, so we can take a panel?
I don't know.
Yes, Dawn said we can unscrew. Yeah.
To get a track.
And I heard there was a grant, an additional grant that's there.
We had another $1,000.
For the dirt.
Are we purchasing soil, or you guys, or would if you guys be open to making your soil with donated ingredients for actual garden beds?
I think we're, well.
I think we have money.
Huh?
Don't we have money?
We have
In the
$1,000
grant.
for it.
Oh, yeah. That all. Do we, if we spent all the other grant, the previous 15?
Oh, you spent that
that's
long ago. I mean, like, yeah, because we paid for the,
There's
yeah.
so
that-
much
and when that
stuff.
happens, listen,
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know. What were you
Well,
thinking?
If it's, I mean, it's the way I garden, but
Yeah.
it's cost of people. But for, if you
Well, they
guys are,
wanted, they both Mitch and Don were something about, I'm used to 3-way, but I think they were talking about 5, I don't know what 5-way is, where it has the mulch and the sand and the soil and it must have more.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But they have something in mind that is good to put, because it is different. A raised bed is definitely different than if you're putting directly into the soil or garden. So, because it just dries out. Yeah, so. And then we have to do all the irrigation.
And then but that will work out here. That's the next step. Yeah, so that's the plan. So stay tuned because it's really helpful to have people show up to the work party.
Yeah. Do you have like a potential date?
Well, we were looking at like the first or second week of
If we
April.
can get the panel down, then my schedule's moved all over the place, so if the panel is just taken down, so I can go in there, you know,
When
I
you're
can just go and when I have a minute, I'll just keep it down.
That or just
Yeah.
that one on.
if, I know wheel bearing can be fun for some and challenging for others. But if we have a set day, I can probably have, he's probably gonna be like, you sign me up for what? I can probably have Augustine just with his excavator, get buckets and pull them in. Cause he can always drive in through the road, that way we don't mess with anything and just,
As close
Blow
as
it
you
in.
can,
Yeah.
to some of them at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
and so it should alleviate.
I'm a very sad wheelbarrow.
I will, I did too. I got one for Billy Beds. That's a good one.
So we
Okay.
might have the kids start, planting the seeds. We have all
Right,
those,
yeah.
and they can do their, how
Yeah.
exciting.
They'll be-
Any other comments or questions about the garden update? Brings us to 17, the DOE project update. I think, Michelle, you have more information on it than I do currently, but I know that we have
That's a contract that we're ready to sign,
Yeah.
so it's
a
been.
contract.
I'm just gonna rely on Brent telling me that it is a good contract, because it is very complicated. It's like, okay, this is beyond my, I thought policy was hard,
Yeah,
but.
it's been with our lawyers
Yes.
and then back and forth between Piper and the lawyers, so there's been a bunch of redlining and documents that have been modified for
Two
Baba.
contracts.
2 contracts.
One has, and everything, but again, we're very thankful for these meetings that we have with the, so we have met with the DOE. And we have another meeting scheduled for right after spring break. And then we also meet with this other group, but the DOE is like, the less you change, other than getting away from anything that says, like, they literally are AI. Diversity,
Everything.
inclusion, like you gotta get rid of all that kind of language. So, and then like not change, and also the BABA, so anything Buy America, Build America, Buy America. That or that waiver process, right now, there is not a, process. There's just not a process with Congress for that because everything's kind of messy there. So they said to avoid it at all costs. And so working with Piper, they were able to make one contract that is the same contract that the grant was originally for, that eights, whatever it is. And then a second contract that will actually have the HVAC systems in it. There's no place that builds those HVAC systems in America. So they're all built somewhere else. So that's gonna go over the other thing. They just said that, and the other thing they said is purchase ahead, whatever you can't, like any equipment can be purchased ahead. You can't do labor or materials. We have submitted to, like I was saying, we have submitted, but so far nobody's actually got any money back. But what happens is you submit it and then you say, oh, you need to do these changes. I mean, the lady that we're working for, I think it's Amanda. Is her name Amanda? Ooh. I think it, yeah, it changed. We had another person and she no longer has a job. So, and then Shoshone is for like her assistant. And so she said, before you submit any invoices, let her look at it first. So she makes sure everything's all perfect. Yeah. Is it Amanda? I think it might be Amanda.
Okay, that's good to know.
Hold on. Yeah, anyway, so we're feeling much better about that. Like you guys going off on the limb to say, hey, go ahead and do this. I think it's gonna be okay. We're still gonna have a big chunk of money, but we're gonna have to spend, just so everybody knows.
What's the projected, when might they start? Or what's?
Well, I think they're waiting for me to sign it. Like,
Oh, okay.
we were waiting for the contract. Once I sign the contract, they are ready to go.
Great.
Yeah, well, and we're in a better spot than a lot of schools around because what's happening, because they're not to this process and they're still working and we get, they're doing a lot of summer projects where we're gonna start before summer, is in order to get those summer, like you have to order stuff so much in advance and we want to get stuff hurried up and ordered before like the tariffs.
Yeah.
So,
Engineer came out the other day and met with Matt and looked at the roof, looked at the structure, so he can get us some engineer drawings to approve the other kind of solar that we can put up at the membrane, so that should be in the works right now, and he's working on that, so.
And is that dependent to start getting batteries?
No, it's separate,
Cause I'm just thinking of trying to beat some of
Yeah.
this, like if that's the direction we're moving, would it be smart to try to get some batteries right now?
yeah, I'll let them decide. I mean,
Throwing
We
it out there.
did give, that was a decision that
A
we,
while
right,
back
yeah.
for solar.
Yeah.
Start buying
Separate
things.
grant.
That was like months ago.
yeah, it's a different panel, it's like a second. So I don't know how it all works together, so the physical panels are too heavy, there's a membrane.
Andrea. I'm like, Amanda didn't sound right, but I know it's an A word, Andrea. Well, and, you know, Matt also felt like the windows, doing the windows and the insulation would also give us a pretty bang, you know, it would be really good to help conserve less electricity.
So do we have someone now that, you know, do the windows?
I think we have some bids, but it
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Trying to see if we can get any donation or discounts too.
I know I mean. I'm trying to think on a past project they worked on. I believe they did work with a contractor who actually, does a rebate within, like, let me just get more information.
Yes.
Alright, I'm just, I mean, yeah, let me get more information on that.
Any other DOE questions? I believe that's the 18 committee reports fundraising.
Yeah, we just finished our readathon and it was really, really cool. I really enjoyed it and the kids raised $43,000.
No,
I'm sorry,
we're
43. And now the That's still amazing. Yeah, so it's the first year really that was 40 kids too. I mean, that was only 40 kids participating really. And then, but the reading, I mean, some of these classes were just
That's awesome.
They just were really good at turning in their slips and it was fun to see.
I'll say my kids were not great at participating in the actual fundraiser, but there was a buzz about like reading right now. And so my kids were more like, we gotta read a certain number of pages. We don't quite know why, but I don't even care why, like, this is great.
Yeah.
I did feel like it brought
Yeah.
energy around more pages, more reading.
And I don't know if it was the prizes that helped, but like they just got money for like the Scholastic Book Fair and the kids who, you know, got their award. They were just, I volunteered today. It was just like, yeah. Oh, I didn't see him. If he came, I didn't get a chance to say. Yeah, it was cute.
Just out of curiosity, so you mentioned 40 kids participated.
Mhm.
What would,
Well, I mean, more kids participated in the reading part of it, but actually in the fundraising part.
and the Jogathon, what was that the figure of the?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm sure. But I'll send it.
I think it was more.
Yeah, it was more for sure. And we raised 10.
Yeah,
grand.
10.
Not adding anything.
Yeah, and it was like, it was definitely challenging just because of, we also had the heart thing going on at the same time.
Oh, I know.
I think they raised
Yeah.
1,600, so we have to kind of figure that out. And the thing is, like, with the Tigers Den, we're gonna make a calendar of what's happening every month, so for fundraising, so. So I don't make that mistake.
I just wanna add, it was great. My kids, same as Julia, they were, yeah, I mean, with one of my kids, I don't really have an issue. With the other one, it's more of, a constant reminder. But it wasn't during that time period, so that was great. But I will have to say, as a parent, I started the online, I didn't finish it, life happened, and I just let it go, and then when I realized, I was like, oh, fundraiser's over, and I didn't do anything. So I guess it's just my input of if there was another way to try to do that, versus, just because I know, at least for me, I can start seeing them.
There were paper slips. Did they make it?
No.
You didn't get those. Okay, they might have been at the bottom of the. They do, but. Right, but I am fully committed to doing a better job with communication on that one, so.
But hey,
Also,
it was
for
the
sure.
right.
But it was a
Yeah,
good first
it was
one and I
great
liked
energy.
it. I hope we can do it again next
And the book fair is on the stage, so we couldn't get they're big kind of metal things that we didn't get them up, they wouldn't fit on.
I think it's perfect.
I like it on
It's
stage.
But I like it better here just because there's, the lighting on the stage is really hard.
True,
And
yeah.
we have a couple of kids that, but,
Do they still?
well, no, we have we have kids that have special needs and one of them got stuck on the stage and we can get off of it, so that makes it hard, but that's gonna be a problem pretty much anywhere, so. Yeah, and we're trying to work, I had some what are those patio lights, if there's lighting on the stage, it's horrible. It's really bad, so we're working on that.
The big lights on.
Huh?
Just turn
That's
them.
right.
Spotlight on that.
Thinking that factor not.
I was just gonna say on the committee report, and I really am grateful for this group and the challenging conversation around the school schedule. I know that is not an easy conversation. Do we want like a calendar committee? Do we want that to be an ED committee? What does that look like? Because I'm just thinking here, like, how do we keep that conversation alive so it doesn't catch up to us really quickly next year where we're like all of a sudden in this boat again where we're scrambling in January, and how do we start? What is the format? What is the process people have? And I'm open to anything. I don't have but I would love to say like, we're gonna start a committee and y'all are welcome. Because people are gonna have thoughts about that 4-day piece and people are gonna have thoughts about the 5-day piece and the early bus continuing.
When you were outlining the committee, it made perfect sense to me. And then Michelle, you said, but why do we need a committee? So maybe, or you said,
No,
but
I
what's the
said what
purpose of the
What's
committee?
the purpose? I didn't say what's the
Yeah.
purpose.
So that made me think like maybe we don't need a committee. It's more of an internal.
I just think that if you
Figuring
have a
out-
committee, you need to let them know. So again, when we want people to be like from all places to be involved and to have all voices. But sometimes I think that they don't know that what the goal is for them, like what are they being charged with? We need to be very specific.
Okay.
about
What if
that.
it was to execute the 4-day calendar?
Yeah.
To like do all the groundwork to make that a success. And that is getting people's feedback, troubleshooting the bus, like it is to implement the 4-day,
Yeah,
it
to
is
figure out a path.
to implement, I can't remember what year we are, like 2027, the 2026, 2027 calendar. So there's a committee specifically
Yeah.
for that 26-27 calendar.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the public community is important. I think it seems to me that, the 4-day schedule, is really gonna impact the teachers and making sure that the teachers feel prepared to roll out the 4-day is, crucial. So I don't know if the committee there would be a teachers committee. And
Yeah.
teachers and staff committee and then a
No, I
public
think
committee.
They
have
go
teachers,
together.
they go together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it should be
Planning.
more like, because, okay, the other thing is, if you're worried, like, that's what we're gonna go for. Having staff on, because I'm just gonna tell you, like, let's just think about the strategic planning committee. Like, that started off with a fairly large group, and I sat here the other day with 5 people. So, I mean, that's what happens with committees, is they just kind of whittle down to, and it's hard to get everybody together, so. And this is something we can think about, I think.
I'll put it on the agenda for the next
Um,
meeting.
yes.
I just think giving people a space that
Yeah.
want to be engaged in a conversation, that have serious concerns, that are thinking, I might have to pull my kid out, that if that's where we're going, then we welcome you to problem solve together. And here's the space, like fundraising, if you're interested in fundraising, there's Tigers down. It just might be nice to create a space, and I don't need to be on it, I don't need to be in charge of it, but I'm just saying that if you're gonna move it forward, and you're gonna, Dan, I think identified instructional hours, busing and Fridays. Well, like, charge a committee with, you have these 3 problems to solve, and you can report back to the board.
Work with Michelle, if that's all right with the board, between now and the next meeting to identify our core problems we need to solve to make 4-day work, and then come back to the board at our next monthly meeting to say, okay, here's what we need to solve, and here, how should we, as a group, organize either a committee or a work group or
Like
something.
listening, and maybe it's like the committee is more board members, staffers of that, and maybe, board members are parents, like all of you
Yeah.
guys are parents. And that maybe it's like holding some listening sessions about it, and then also having some frequent, some FAQs about it. Because I did notice, like, on some of the responses from people, I'm like, yes, but we have thought, like, people like, they don't know, because we haven't done that. Hey, one quick question is, so the 5-day calendar, are we gonna approve this one, or you want me to look at this one more time and then bring it back for next time, or what?
We can approve
You can
it.
approve it.
One little point about the committee, is it possible we can call it committee for a 4-day week with Friday programming?
That's what I'll put
Make
on
it very
yeah.
clear that
Yeah.
there's still
Friday.
Friday programming.
Fridays, your kids can still come.
Yeah,
all day.
Friday, kids can still come.
We'll work that out
And
in
that
the next,
could be
our next
feedback
meeting.
for, say how they can help, right? What will they want to be on Friday for the programming?
Yeah, so this last one of business added here, and for Michelle, is just, we're approving this 5-day calendar that's in front of us right now. So do we have discussion prior to the motion?
Is there any thought on the conferences? Have you got a resolution with the teachers if they want
No,
those on
so the only thing
Fridays?
that might change would be the conferences on the 17th and the 24th of October. And the April 24th and 1st, those would be the only ones that might change, and it would change to, those would still be an off day. It might be that there's only one off day, and we move to, we're looking at how can we do the evenings with that, so that would be the only big change.
We have made updates to calendars where it's like,
We've
we've approved this one and then we just.
Yeah.
Because we're usually chasing North Bosco's calendar, because North Bosco made, and so this is, I looked at North Bosco's current calendar, and this follows most of their
days off. So I tried to put our assessment days as close to possible.
All good? Make a motion that we adopt or accept this, approve this calendar as presented here, the 5-day calendar. Thank you, help me. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Check the draft.
All right, motion passes.
Can I remind us of a conversation we had a long time ago for a future board meeting, but we got the request for Harmony Hall and we punted it.
Yeah.
I'll put that on the next one as well.
Well, that's great with the summer plan, you know, that we're talking about what grades we would want to make in that. And it would probably coincide with that, so.
Was there anything for me?
Oh, yeah.
You went.
There really isn't too much more, I think, probably from last time I mean, the events happening on May 31st, at MoCo out front, like between MoCo and Dale House, the street will be closed. And it's a carnival theme, we'll have a big cornhole tournament that Casey's putting together as part of it, because apparently that draws a lot of people get really serious and are willing to pay money to win. And then, like lots of other, like carnival style type games that adults and children can, participate in. We're having, a couple food trucks, they're not all yet determined. MoCo will just be serving the alcohol and food will be, like I said, food carts, but earlier in the day, John has said he's gonna go pork and full pork sandwiches and things, for sale. We'll also have like, you know, like hot dogs and things.
He's donating.
They are, they got them, and we're probably gonna run like a cotton candy machine, stuff like that, to just sell, we'll, you know, bring more money in, and we'll have our live auction there. We do have Sport Lifers is gonna headliner for the music, it's 8 that night. We're still working on, I need to hear back from Nate if his band might open or be willing to play, before they go on. And Nate has also said he will do a, children's program of some sort, maybe at 2 that afternoon. It'll kind of be similar to the Christmas tree lighting where he's gonna put it out there and everyone, all the kids that can come and want to and show up, and they're gonna show on the stage. It's all starting to come together.
And I think we need donations, right?
Yeah, yes, that would be great. If
And
you
I
guys
do
know.
have some art.
Oh, yay. Yes, if you have any, yourself or businesses or friends that have like nice things to donate or experiences and you like, we will accept them. And a form is going out actually for those, tomorrow, right? Yes. And the folders.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Can I get a second? Okay, 1 second. Second. Yeah.
Discussion.
All those in favor? All right, adjourn. Thank you for your hard work today.
Those are all amazing.